Welcome back to WRPL, the podcast where we talk about all the things we are watching, reading, playing, and listening to. My name's Ben.
And I'm Steve.
We have kind of a weirder episode. Not one of the major releases is our main topic. It's a straight-to-streaming release.
Sometimes we go unconventional on the show.
Sure, and
keeps it spicy.
It's an Apple Plus movie, too. It's not... There's going to be even less people who have seen this than some of the big Netflix or HBO or Hulu releases. We have, like, every week, once we start having TV shows, we'll do quick recaps on all that shit. We're also going to talk about Tales of Iron, Evil Dead Rise, and Beau is Afraid. Or at least I will try to talk about Beau is Afraid. So let's start, as we always do, with a roll.
All right.
No guesses. Don't guess.
I was gonna.
You were gonna do it.
I was gonna try and
no juju.
Put some juju.
No, it's always bad juju.
Yeah. So we'll just let it ride. 12.
Okay.
9.
12 and 9.
I mean, there was some interference on the board, but
that's fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't like rocked on an edge.
It wasn't tilted.
Yeah. So
12 and 9.
Okay, so let's maybe talk about the thing we care about the least first.
Sure.
Mandalorian season finale. This was a really fun episode, but I think just like a lot of last episode, it's just a little kid playing with toys.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh, and now they're flying around and hitting each other with hammers. And oh, and a Star Destroyer falls from space and into the... So it's really big and bombastic and stupid at times, but I had a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the action sequences. I thought that they were fun.
I was making fun of them flying around and stuff, but it looked really cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the show is like when they're doing, it's weird because usually you watch a show on this scale and a lot of times CGI can look bad or wonky in some scenes, and then when they could just be walking around in costume and like that costume looks really bad. Like the live action stuff looks, but it's usually the live action stuff looks good and the CGI looks bad. This show is weirdly the complete opposite. I think anytime there's like big, heavy CGI scenes, they look great.
They're amazing.
They spend so much money on it that they look flawless.
Yeah.
And sometimes watching it, they're just like walking through the city streets and like, oh, this looks like a set. This looks bad. And
I've been noticing a lot of people complaining about Grogu walking, and he just looks like he's light on air.
I didn't pay too much attention to it until this last episode where it was just a wide shot.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's like a Muppet.
Weird.
I mean, it is a Muppet. Jesus Christ.
But see, I don't know, because they use CG for Grogu all the time, but they purposely make him look like a puppet when they're doing CG, so there's not that disconnect. So I don't know, is that an actual puppet with little robot legs and then they, erase the rig, or is that a completely CG thing? I would think if it was a CG thing, you would have a little more foot placement when he walks, but he's like twinkle toes.
Well, because there's been shots where he's walking and it kind of seems like he has to shift his entire body.
Yeah, like he's getting his feet caught up on his little...
And then watching this episode, it was just scurrying like his little feet across the little treetops or something, like a squirrel. Anyway, so seeing stormtroopers with jetpacks fight Mandalorians with jetpacks in the sky doing some weird charge at each other, cool. The Mandalorian taking on 3 Praetorians, cool. Bo-Katan Darksaber fight, cool. It's weird seeing Moff Gideon just kind of dressed like Darth Vader. You couldn't, if you just made his armor blue or any other color than black. I mean, I get that the Empire, it's white, black, and red. Those are the 3 general colors.
Yep.
But just, I don't know. Maybe that's why Moff Gideon's such a bad boy rebel. He doesn't play by the rules. Put that motherfucker in pink. Who cares?
Yeah.
Giancarlo Esposito will be scary in whatever color you throw him in. So the fact that you just make him look like a discount Darth Vader is uninspired to me.
And especially him going like, oh, the Mandalorian are nothing without all their toys, but let me take all their toys and reinforce it with hydraulics and get a lightsaber. It's cool when I do it. You're pathetic without it.
That being said, I don't think I'm going to watch season 4. I don't.
Yeah?
I've said this before on the podcast where I think The Mandalorian does a good job of having a really great first episode and a really great finale. And I enjoyed this finale for the most part,
Sure.
but this season as a whole has done nothing for me.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm going to return.
Well, the frustrating thing for me is where we end up is exactly where I wanted the start of this to be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you need a police officer watching the stars around your planet? I can go do these crazy random missions where I take out bad guys. That's all I've ever wanted from the show. And we had to do all this deep lore and with the Mandalore culture, and then we don't even really do it all that much. We spend all this time talking about the planet and what it means to be a Mandalorian, and by the end, it's like, okay, cool, you got your planet back. You have a land on Carl Weathers' planet that he'll let you have.
Yeah.
Why don't you take this fertile land? No, let's go take the homeland, even though it's crystallized all the fuck. So,
but there is crops underground.
Yeah, under this one little thing, you could eat moss and sludge off of a rock. It's pretty great.
Here's my thing, and it's the Rings of Power thing. How many Mandalorians are left, especially after this battle? Because it seems like Bo-Katan, your mission is to go out there and bring more Mandalorians to our cause.
Mm-hmm.
All right, she got 50,
sure,
maybe.
Yeah,
and then brought them to and we took back our homeworld. Okay, they took back the homeworld with 25 people, 60 people.
Got to break a few eggs. Yeah,
Are they starting from? Are there more Mandalorians still out in the universe? Are there we only saw those 3 guys who were like, we've been living here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Are there actually hundreds of Mandalorians who aren't warriors, or are they all warriors and they just didn't fight in this crucial battle against the Empire?
I don't know.
I have no sense of...
They don't answer the question. They pose a lot of questions, and they just expect you to blind believe that, hey, we know what we're doing. Just follow along. Don't look too close at the cracks. Or just enjoy the polish.
It just feels like it wants to have the essence of Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, but not put any of the effort into structuring a story that would allow that.
Sure.
Because I think when Game of Thrones was on, everyone was trying to pitch the next Game of Thrones. It's like, oh, it's Game of Thrones set in this world.
Yeah.
Or it's a modern day Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it's a sci-fi Game of Thrones.
Because Game of Thrones was the trigger thing. The same thing with Breaking Bad. And it's not them, when The Mandalorian first came out, they weren't saying it's Game of Thrones with Mandalorians.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think they needed to go that way, or they needed to just go into a more fun route, because I think they're in this weird in-between where we got to be serious and tell this kind of, not gritty story, but deep lore thing, but not do anything with it, while also maintaining fun for the kids, but not making it so fun that I feel like it's a super enjoyable show where I'm entertained all the way through. You know what I mean?
They really want to make it as important as anything else in Star Wars, and not everything in Star Wars has to be the biggest, most important thing. This could have been the first offshoot of, we have important-esque things like, oh, look, a different Yoda creature that we've never seen. That's pretty big world, interesting things, but we don't need to see the rise of the First Order. We don't need any of that. Just have Mando doing Mando things with Grogu, and don't worry about anything else outside of what he's doing right then and there. They scale it back. You can still have your big monsters and your big battles and stuff, but scale it back when it comes to the greater story of Star Wars.
Now, Grogu gets adopted.
Yeah, officially. Yeah, he's officially his son.
The son of...
Isn't that cute?
Yeah, of Mando.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So
my question for you.
No,
I was just
go.
gonna say, my question for you. The obviously there's gonna be more Star Wars stuff because it's a money train they'll beat until it doesn't print money anymore. Will Grogu be a central figure in, let's say, if they do this new trilogy series, Rey's coming back? Grogu is now, it's because Grogu was trained by young Luke, is now 30 years in the future.
Sure. But
is Grogu like a badass teenager with a lightsaber?
But he's 50
also dressed in
and he's a baby. 30 years, he's 80. Okay, he's not 6 anymore. He's 7. I don't know how much.
I think he could be like
10.
I think he could be a badass Padawan-esque lightsaber in one hand, Mandalorian armor in another.
I don't know.
But just tiny.
That seems
I'm
like...
not saying I want that. I'm just saying that's kind of...
And I'm glad you were wrong with your prediction. He doesn't wield the saber and become the leader of the Mandalorians.
Yeah, I'm glad I was wrong too.
That feels like it's Star Wars dies down. Disney has kind of killed it. And in 50 years, they decide to reinvigorate the franchise after it's been dead in the ground for a while. And
50 years?
Something. It's in the future. It's going to be... we won't even know what TV is at that time. We'll be so old.
The only way I see that happening is if it's Reign of Fire, the dragons have taken over the world, and you have Christian Bale reenacting Star Wars. Okay. So it's like, look at this original idea I came up with.
Maybe.
Shout out Reign of Fire references.
Yeah, good movie. Last thing. Okay, so they find those guys on the boat, the above ground boat, and they say, "Where's the forge? Oh, here's the forge. Oh crap, the Empire has taken over and started producing their own sort of shit. We got to take them out." Then they drop a Star Destroyer on that base to eliminate them all, but the forge is still fine. They're still at the end lighting up the fires and like it. Was it not?
I don't have
really there.
Sense of scale of
was it? Yeah, was it a more thousand
location?
It just felt like here's the forge around the corner. Oh crap! There's where all their jets are. I know it's stupid, but who?
Yeah, I didn't even notice that problem. Yeah. So,
but that's enough of Mandalorian. That's talking too much on that. Are you caught up on Ted Lasso?
I am caught up on Ted Lasso.
Okay. So this last episode, maybe my least favorite episode.
Wow, interesting. Okay.
I think this show is a little too self-aware of how quirky everything is and how adorable these silly little situations are. I think it feels like it was written by a fan because you have to be this sweet and, the gang they can't even decide what to do and they're going to spend all night just voting on this stupid thing and then, we finally make a decision. Oh, now what are we going to eat? It was so corny. And Rebecca falling off that bridge and then having this wonderful night with this random fucking dude. I just didn't believe pretty much anything that happened in this episode. Big thumbs down for me.
Wow, interesting. I had the exact opposite reaction. I really love this episode. I will say that I agree on the Rebecca stuff because I was watching with my wife, and every other show and every other woman I feel like in the real world would go, I don't care how charming or handsome this man is. All this evidence points to this guy murdering me. Like, I don't have my phone. I don't have my clothes.
But that was the water. It's not like he stole the phone.
I understand that.
They justify it well enough that he's not a creep, but you should be aware that
I'm able to get it, but just I don't know. It just seemed like every other scenario in there. Like, oh, drink this tea. Don't worry, I left a card saying it's not drunk. Yeah. But she drinks the tea. It's like, oh, wear my wife's clothes. She happens to be your side. Like, everything points to this guy's going to wear you like a coat. And
if there was she goes and she's checking all the rooms and there's one door that is locked and she couldn't get into, that could leave a little groundwork of what's up with this guy. And it turns out it's his daughter's room and she died and he doesn't like going in there anymore. Something. But I think
that was the part that also drove me crazy was she saw the daughter's room. Not crazy, but she saw the daughter's room and was like, oh, how sweet. This guy has a daughter. What if that's the room where he keeps girls he steals? What are you talking?
He wants to make them feel comfortable.
There was a little girl's room, but no little girl. Maybe you're the little girl, Rebecca. None of this. It freaked me out. So that part I didn't love, but it was fine. I liked that Ted did drugs, whether they were effective or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Him going to an American restaurant
that was
in Amsterdam was a pretty funny idea. Yeah. And I love the idea that, how he figured out how to do a new game plan for the team, which is based off the Bulls offense. The 96 Bulls, which arguably the greatest basketball team ever assembled. And then I found it funny that this was made up in the 70s or whatever it was.
This has been around for a long time.
It's like, Oops.
But should we do it? Oh yeah, we should do it.
And I like that because so many shows or movies or whatever it is, whenever there's a sport, it's like, oh, we're losing. How do we? Well, we're playing basketball, but I'm a football coach. Well, what if I coach the basketball team like football?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, no one's ever thought that. Every sport has thought of every possible conceivable way.
How can we use hockey to get better at tennis? Someone has already done it.
If this show was set in even the 90s, but anything pre-internet I could buy, maybe you come up with a clever thing.
Sure.
But the internet has data and analysis has eliminated all sense of creativity, I believe, in sports,
because they've maximized with strategy and stuff.
They've maximized. Now there's still obviously strategy involved in sports, and playmaking and all that stuff. But I just mean in coming up with a new strategy. It's just, oh, this team does this a lot. We're gonna do this to counteract that. But then in a moment's notice, they can go, okay, they are onto us, and they just switch it up. Yeah. There's no.
It's not like, oh crap, I started this play, and now we have to run the game the rest of the way.
You switch up based on the scenario. Yeah. That's the strategy. It's not coming up with a new play.
Yeah.
It's not the water boy where it's like, oh, good thing I have my confidence back so I can come up with these fun, crazy plays that no one's going to suspect. Anyway, the Roy Jamie stuff I thought was real cute.
Yeah.
The only problem I have with the Roy Jamie stuff is Roy's like, it's time to trade. And all they do is run. Yeah. You never see them practice the sport. Yeah. It's just your training is running, and that's all you're doing.
And if he was gonna actually get him to do other things, you just tell him to stop running. Like, Roy couldn't keep up with them. Yeah, he's an older guy. But you're the coach. You say stop, now let's do push-ups or whatever. But he just lets Jamie kind of take him all across the city.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing that I hate about that was the bike riding scene. And I get it. The story makes sense of why he never rode a bike, but the scene of him actually trying and these kind of cartoonish ways of not being able to keep your balance and falling over, they needed to cut.
Over, not putting your leg down.
Yeah, they needed to cut that way back. That was just, hey guys, go nuts. And then they spent 3 hours of doing funny bike stuff, and they cut it all up. Cut that out completely.
I mean, I still think the show is wonderful because there's just not a lot of wholesome sweet shows. Yeah, it might be heavy-handed, it might be a little cartoony, but I mean, Ted was cartoony in season 1.
Sure.
Ted is the most cartoony man I've ever seen.
But he's not cartoony in this episode.
Correct.
Everybody else becomes the cartoon.
Yeah. So I mean, I understand the complaints and I can see that, but I'll take that over a bunch of nihilism. And then for the team, I think I like this because the team as a group doesn't really get to shine all that much. It's always just in the locker room and they're all just spit, and usually Ted's there, but this is the first time they're all kind of like solo. And Danny just wanting to see a single tulip is.
I heard someone wrote down tulip and it was you. You wrote it in Spanish. Someone wrote it in Spanish.
But my favorite joke was you want to see. Do you want to see like a field of tulips? No, just one tulip. A field of tulips would be too overwhelming. He just seems like the sweetest guy. And then just having a big old pillow fight at the end. It was kind of silly, but Sam like coughing up feathers at the end. I thought was.
And then what's his name playing bass in the jazz band in the red light district?
Yeah, I totally forgot what that was.
Yeah, that's. I don't know, just ridiculous. And just seemed like, oh, this actor knows this instrument, so let's put it into the character so we could actually do it.
But at least it made sense in terms of location of all that Chet Baker stuff. Also, shout out Chet Baker. I love Chet Baker.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did he throw himself from the window or was he pushed?
I'll never tell. Anyway.
Where was I on that date? None of your fucking business.
So yeah, I mean, I enjoy this episode because I think that there's been a lot of complaints about the season not being as sweet or fun. It's kind of a downer because they're losing. Yeah. Ted is not being Ted. So the fact that it seems like everything's gonna be all right it's the turning point of the season. It's halfway through. I enjoyed it.
Last thing on Ted Lasso. Does this show have the worst intro music of all time?
No.
Oh my God. The moment it goes, yeah, I will fly out of my chair to get that remote to pass it. It is so obnoxious. That first note is just, it's like, skip. Uh,
Wait, one more time. What is it like?
Nope. Yeah, awful song.
It doesn't bother me at all.
Wow. Okay. Dave.
Dave?
Just when I thought I was on Dave's side and really rooting for him, he throws away the exact thing he was looking for. The fool. But I really like this episode. I thought I really like Chloe Bennett.
Mm-hmm.
She's absolutely gorgeous. She's just like one of the prettiest people. I'm surprised she doesn't get more work just based on being a pretty lady.
There's lots of pretty people in the world.
I know, but she's at least established. She's in technically the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You'd think that would get her something.
No one owns Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the Marvel Universe, except for Coulson, who hasn't been in the Marvel Universe since 2012.
It is technically like one of the multiverse sort of things, because they do play with time travel and all that. Yeah, great show. One of the better Marvel things. But I really liked her in this. They were really sweet. I like how accepting she was of how weird he is and how honest. And that's, exactly who Dave is. He's just honest to a fault.
Honest.
But then, yeah, just to not even have the thought of, yeah, let's keep in contact while I go on tour. And when it's done, I'm coming back for you. That's not even an option for him. He has to find someone, and they're going to give up their life and get on the bus with him for the rest of the tour. I just don't know his logic behind all that.
Yeah, I figured because of her job, that would be an easy transit. If he met a girl who worked at a restaurant, she was a waitress. Well, maybe she needs to keep that job because it's her only source of income.
Sure.
But, you're a photographer who I specifically hired to shoot for whatever thing, some promotional thing. It's like, she can come on tour and be our tour photographer and document the journey, which I guess...
And then have drama with the friend who's doing the same thing. Yeah.
And...
Oh, I'm Agent. Well, so am I. I'm a woman. Well, so am I. Ooh.
I didn't even think of that. That makes perfect sense. So yeah, I'm surprised. I'm sure we'll see more of her.
Yeah, because then you say she's going to be on at least 2 episodes.
I don't remember if I said that, but
I thought you said that to me in the last episode.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think we even talked about, she'll show up, they won't get together, and then she'll show up at the very end, and it'll be, you were the right one for the whole time, because we can't find it too early, because we got a whole season of crazy women for him to run through. I don't mean that. I don't mean that in that way, but for the show,
it must be so hard writing a TV show about yourself where you have to sleep with a bunch of beautiful women.
But it's got to be weird for him because him and Chloe Bennett are friends, and they've been friends for a long time, and they are pretty intimate in this episode. I don't know if I could do that with someone I'm super close with, and I know they can say, "Well, we're actors, and it's just acting." I still think it's just a little too weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just one of those things you have to be in the industry to kind of figure out. I'm sure there's plenty of people who don't do that, and we'll probably get to that later in our main topic. But
I didn't even say what we were talking about. We'll save it.
Yeah.
I said it was a. Did I say the actual name, or did I just say it wasn't a major release?
I thought you said
I can't even
beginning what we were talking about.
It's only been 25 minutes, and I can't even remember.
Yeah, I don't think... Maybe you did.
Okay.
Maybe it was before we were recording.
Stick around for a surprise! That's a hint.
Did anything else happen besides him hanging out with...
Well, what's her face? His ex. I always forget her name.
Yeah.
Having anxiety about... about wanting to just have a one-night stand, easy hookup, simple thing, and not going her way. I feel so bad for that guy. Yeah, and... Obviously, she has every right to, say no at any point, but it's like all signs led to this thing for him, and he thought it was like a done deal, and in the last second, she pulls back.
You downloaded the game 99%, and then there was a user error.
File corrupted.
And so now you lost it deleted all your history.
I'm just glad he wasn't like a super prick about it and got... made it more justifiable for her to say no and like get up in her face and kind of demand something. Like he understood, but I felt bad for the guy.
No, it sucks that no was no.
Yeah, and I think because she asks him, "Oh, you remember that time you said I was like your perfect woman?" I think if he just would have said yes, that would have been enough confirmation for her to maybe go a little bit further. But it was that, I'm not the be-all, end-all. Crap. Now we're a few steps back before I even get to this moment normally and kind of shut things down. But yeah, I don't blame her. I have the same ideals as she does, so I get it. I just feel bad for both of them, really.
Yeah.
But that is a kind of a weird thing to bring your guy friend who's been in love with you to your ex boyfriend's big concert when he's a big hoopla to then plan to hook up later on. Weird situation, but
Yeah, once again, I'm sure for a lot of people that's just LA stuff or just but also I just think that is being an adult. You can have an ex who you can talk to and it's not a big deal or at least try it may be still a little bit weird, but you can still be friends and amicable and
yeah.
talk about like, oh yeah, I'm seeing this person, you're seeing this person, that's cool. That does happen.
Yeah.
So it's not the weirdest thing, but on paper, yes, it's weird for sure.
I didn't even recognize her at first. I thought this was going to be some, like, because when she got off the bus and they're all like, oh, we're so happy to see you. I thought this was like a friend of the group
that we've never met.
And it was going to be like just this random person that would have like easily fit in, but they decided to get married or take a job somewhere else, and they just kind of moved away from each other.
Yeah, I don't remember what city they're in, but let's say it's Chicago.
Yeah.
This person lives in Chicago.
Yeah.
We're
and so then when it was her, it was like, oh, I kind of even forgot about this character because she was played so little role in season 2, even though she was such a big role in season 1. I just completely forgot. It was just sad because she was one of my favorite people in season 1. So, do you think she'll be back?
Through the series of
no, course. I mean through the season.
Through the season? Probably in a finale. I can't see her just being in 1.
Okay.
I think she'll be in at least 2.
And Barry? Man, Barry came back. Final season.
A show you and I both love.
From the get-go. I forgot what a fucking psychopath Barry was. My God.
Well, obviously Barry season 1 was a troubled person, but he was still charming and the show was very funny and he was fine. It was a man finding his group even though he was lying about them kind of being his group, but it's I did this thing for a living, but I wish I did this. So I'm trying very hard to do this, but my past won't let me. And then it just got progressively worse. Like last season, Barry was scary.
Yeah. I kind of forgot how nuts he went at the end with yelling at Sally, holding a gun to Kuzuno's kid and grandkid. Or I guess it was just a grandkid at that moment.
But I don't know if he was necessarily holding a gun, but
threatened to shoot them both. Yeah.
I love you, Mr. Kuzuno. I love you too, Barry. So season 3 Barry was scary, and this Barry is just as scary. He's
props to Bill Hader, man. Yeah, that guy is an actor.
But I wonder if he can only really write for himself.
Maybe.
I don't know if I can see him doing a serial killer role in a Fincher movie or something. I mean, he's talented. I love him. I'll see anything he's in, really. But this was a character written by him for him.
Yeah.
So I just don't know if he can. I don't know. I'd like without to see him do other dramatic stuff.
Yeah, like trying to put him in Seven.
Yeah.
And play that role
because it would still comical.
Yes, but I think you put him in something that's serious like that. I would just go, oh, look at Bill Hader doing a funny voice or doing an impression. This, I believe it.
Right.
And maybe I'm just selling him short by saying that, but he was excellent in this. And fuck Kuzuno. What a piece of shit. Love that scene, though. Just, don't talk to reporters because we don't want to screw up the trial. And then, no, I want the whole fucking spotlight to myself, and I'm going to reenact our total engagement with each other. I
hated that scene. It felt... I've never been to Hollywood. No, that's not true. I've been to Hollywood when I was 7 or something.
Still counts.
So I don't remember. But just from watching so many other movies and TV shows about actors and improv people or whatever, him doing his one-man show felt so genuine to every other one-man show I've seen on television.
Yeah.
But it was just so cringy. I hated watching it.
And the voice he gave Barry was just like this moron.
Big dumb guy.
Yeah. Oh, please, Mr. Kuzuno.
But him just trying to deliver these badass lines that he didn't say, and it didn't sit right with me. And Sally's whole
Her
home
parents,
life.
oh my god. I know people who've had either one or both of these types of parents, like one that just is the people pleaser, make
Mhm.
everything happy, one who's an alcoholic and completely disconnected. Like her mom is so worried that she used the real name of her ex that it would embarrass her at church or in the neighborhood, and you know can't even see where her daughter is coming from, and just only worries about the gossip, even though this show has been on for a while.
Mhm.
If they knew, they knew. It's not like it's affected anything at that point, and just completely checked out of anything her daughter is going through.
Yeah. Her Sally's panic attack in the car while her mom just looks out the window
Mm-hmm.
and just doesn't react
Yeah.
was a real bummer.
Yeah.
As a soon to be parent, God, I hope that isn't me where my kid is just freaking out all the time. Where I've dealt with this a billion times. I just
Mm-hmm.
can't deal with it anymore. So just have a panic attack and
Yeah.
who cares?
Get
Uh,
over it and then let's go.
yeah. But oof, this whole episode was kind of a bummer. The only funny
I mean, it
high
was 2 episodes. Yeah.
that's true. The only I think funny bits were with Fuchs.
Oh, yeah.
Him
He gets an out. He gets
yeah,
a chance to have a better life or a better chance, and
gets a
throws it away because he thinks he could do something even better,
yeah,
and then it bites him in the
yeah,
ass.
gets a deal with the FBI or
Mhm.
law, and then actually goes and talks to Barry, and they were like, "Okay, well, I'm not going to turn you in now." And then goes back to those guys like, "I can't believe you would make me turn on my friend. How dare you?" It's like you wanted to turn on him.
And then Barry just goes and he's like, he doesn't give a
Yeah,
shit about Felix.
If Sally shows up and
Yeah,
asks for Barry,
that
Barry's going to screw over whoever.
that was a great scene, especially her kind of like realizing that even after all this, she does love Barry and is the
Hmm.
one person who truly gave a shit about her and wasn't, you know, just buttering her up to, stay in the acting class or whatever.
Yeah, and the whole world hates her now because she's the C
Oh.
word girl. But like, it doesn't matter. Barry will love her even if she
Yeah.
is the C word girl.
Do you think this will work in her favor? She'll have all this fame and she'll be able to write a book about it and people will care? Or is this going to really just tank anything and she becomes a teacher?
uh, I don't see a world where I was gonna say where they live because I feel like
Oh.
Barry's so like they're all their fates are intertwined, and there's no I can't see Bill Hader living at the
Mm-hmm.
end, just from everything he's done and the way the
But
show is
who
sort of
kills
like
them? Is it bad mob guy people? Is it Fuchs? Is it himself? Is it Sally? Who do you think kills Barry?
I think either it's going to be one of two scenarios. One is the obvious one: Barry kills himself, but he
Yeah.
does it in a way to sort of, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it happily because Sally
We'll get
and
free from this.
Fuchs and
Yeah, somehow it'll all line up where him killing himself exonerates everyone.
yeah, uh, because these are the people I love, and clearly I'm causing them pain, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then Barry can become famous because they're making a movie about Barry's life or a TV show about Barry's life that
Okay.
uh, Henry Winkler's directing and or Sally's directing and writing and starring in or whatever.
Yeah, they all collaborate to be able to advance their careers because of Barry, even though Barry put them all
Yeah.
through this.
So Barry kills himself, or
Okay.
the Chechens and
Mm-hmm.
Cristobal's people, or whoever we have to kill Barry, as that's the end of season episode 2,
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of has this big shootout, kills all the bad guys to save Sally or whoever,
Mm-hmm.
and he gets hit, and he's just kind of bleeding out.
Walter White's it.
Yeah, he just Walter White's it.
Okay. I don't want that. I'd be happy if it was Sally thinks they're running away, but he makes it seem it's going to be some sort of murder suicide or double suicide, and she has to kill him. I'd be
Yeah.
okay with that. Uh,
Or they try and kill Barry, they accidentally kill Sally, and
oh,
then Barry just
nah.
goes
Sally
nuts.
needs to live. Even like
If anyone lives, I hope it's Sally.
it is, even though like she is not anybody I would ever want to know in real life.
Right.
She doesn't deserve to die. But and then NoHo Hank and Cristobal take rival gangs to Dave and Buster's, and
the camera work in that pitch scene is so good.
And him running around. He has to run past so he can hit his mark.
It just seems. I listened to a podcast where Bill Hader talked about that scene, and I think that wasn't intentional, if I remember correctly. It was just he had to get back to his mark, and so, or no, they told him try it once where you just run across camera, and Bill Hader said that I guess the director of photography was watching on the monitor and just was howling laughing on the floor because he didn't know it was coming. Bill Hader was the one who I think told him to do it, and that was really, really funny.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah. Move on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm gonna talk real quick about a movie. You hear about this movie Quasi?
Yeah, I am aware of the Super Troopers guy.
Yeah.
I feel like they've been riding that Super Troopers train for 20 years, where I love Beer Fest.
Okay.
And I remember enjoying Club Dread. And
I always forget about Beer Fest.
Yeah, Beer Fest. I fucking love Beer Fest.
I remember the Slammin' Salmon. Never seen that one, but I always forget Beer Fest. I think Club Dread's my favorite. I like Super Troopers, but I like Club Dread more.
It's been so I don't remember anything about Super Troopers, so I wouldn't mind a rewatch of that.
And I never saw 2.
Oh yeah, there is a 2.
There is a 2.
Yeah.
But the Broken Lizard guys.
The Broken Lizard guys, yeah. Slammin' Salmon, I never saw. No. I watched 10 minutes of it and was like, oh, this doesn't seem good. So,
well, this movie isn't really good either.
Technically, they never made good.
They don't make like high art.
Super Troopers.
They make funny sketches
that are an hour and a half long.
Yeah. So this is just the story of Quasimodo. Everybody plays at least 2 characters in this. Okay. Everybody gets a main and a secondary, and everyone's pretty funny in this. It is a pretty funny movie, and I think...
Is it the modern day Holy Grail?
I mean, I'm not a big Monty Python fan, but I wouldn't make the comparison.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I'd say it's better than Your Highness.
Okay. Super high bar.
Yeah, but maybe not peak comedy like Holy Grail is held at. It is pretty funny, and I think if you like these guys so much that you rewatch their shit all the time and you memorize the funny lines that just get better and better every time you see it, this movie is chock full of that. But some of the things are a little annoying. Like the dude they get that is Quasimodo. I don't know any of their names, but he's the best way I could describe him. He's like the more handsome one. He's not the big guy. He's not the Indian guy. There's 2 white guys that are like tall and lanky, and then there's kind of a shorter brunette guy. He looks like a cop from Super Troopers. Like he looks like he would most likely be the cop out of all. He does this weird thing with his mouth and he puts it on the side the whole time, like he's doing fucking Adam Sandler and Little Nicky.
I was about to say that, yeah.
And it's not like you can't understand him and he's still funny, but I don't think that was the best choice.
Yeah, the voice became grating after a while.
A little bit. And Adrian Padalecki is in it, and she's really funny.
The love interest, I assume?
Yeah, she's the queen in waiting for the king, and he's killed his last queen, and her days are probably numbered as well. And the king is a little annoying at first because he talks like this and tar and feather him, and it's pretty grating. And the Pope has this funny little accent. I can't do an impression of that, but once they get in a room together and they get to bounce off each other, it starts getting really funny. I enjoyed this. I think I gave it a C+. It's better than your average comedy, but don't expect.
They don't make a ton of them anymore.
Yeah, that's true. But this is how much you like that type of humor.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It's on Hulu? No. Hulu? I think it's Hulu. You watched a bit more Severance?
I did. We won't go too deep into it. I'll do like a whole, season review.
Everyone will be waiting.
I will say, the next. So episode 2 and 3. You start to see what happens when someone has become unsevered and so they sort of lose time a little bit and their memories become jumbled. They're jumping back and forth between their memories from the work time and the current, uh,
The outside,
the
the
outside world,
outie and the innie.
the outer and the inner, yeah. So that's been a lot of fun. Direction wise
Mm-hmm.
that the show's done. Still don't know what's going on, what the secret
Mm-hmm.
plan is. And I don't think you see it in episode one, but episode two is, I think, the first time you see the opening credits.
Mm-hmm.
The opening credits are horrifying. Do you remember the opening credits?
I remember it, but it was something I skipped every time. I watched it once and then I skipped
Okay.
it.
So it's all opening credits CGI stuff. I don't even know how
Yeah,
to
they're
really
like
describe.
small little figures, right?
So it's
Kind of a
basically Adam Scott, and sometimes it'll be shots of his Audi, and sometimes it'll be shots of his Innie. But there's scenes where he'll be like rolling downstairs and running into other versions of himself. So then
mm-hmm.
they become this Rat King jumble thing that just is running around. It's really fun visuals, but really scary stuff,
Okay.
in my opinion. Uh, anyway, so I'm still intrigued by the show. It still hasn't been a show that I think I could ever recommend to anybody
Really?
in terms of. I mean, if you like weird shit and psychological shit, or just visually appealing cinematography, I would say yeah, check the show out. But
But not to your mom.
but not your parents are gonna be so bored.
I don't know. I think my mom would like it.
Uh,
My
'Cause
mom's just cooler than your mom. My mom
probably
gets it.
there because the only kind of fun character is Helly, because
Okay.
she's the new girl who just
Mm-hmm.
started, and she is kind of questioning everything and kind of more uh, interesting, where everyone else is kind of just so used to the job,
Yeah.
and there's
They were
you
already
have
too
like
far
you have
gone.
the kind of chubby guy who wants to be the top seller so he can get a waffle
Yep.
party. With like the door prizes for
uh-huh.
doing well at your job are so lame.
And have you seen like what they do at the computer?
Yeah, and so
You
that's
just
one of the
gotta
questions of
feel
the
it.
show is that, so there's all these random numbers on the computer, and then when the numbers make you feel scared, you put them in the scared box. What?
What? Yeah.
And so, and then you have the other plot of the boss, who you don't know if she is severed or not,
Okay.
based on uh the outs. It makes it seem like she at least knows
Yeah.
she's
Is she
not fully
severed
severed.
or is she just putting on an act?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just offers a lot of
Patricia
questions.
Arquette,
Patricia
right?
Arquette
Yeah, she bugs
is
me.
the
I don't.
boss.
She's my least favorite thing of the
She has
show.
a
Her
weird voice.
accent.
I don't
Nah,
care for it.
nah.
Um,
Have you met Christopher Walken yet?
yeah. So it seems like Christopher Walken and John Turturro might have like a love
Mm-hmm.
interest
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing, or it just seems like two guys who just enjoy hanging out with each other because they both bonded over looking at a piece of art.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, that their interactions are sweet, and I enjoy. Uh, I'm just gonna call him the short, chubby guy because I
Yeah.
don't remember his
Yeah. I don't
name.
know his name.
But he's like, "Fuck that department, fuck you guys." And, what do we do? Oh, what do you guys got there? Oh, we had an egg drop contest. Why? Why did the optics department have an egg drop contest? What do they do here? Nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's I need pieces to start coming
Okay.
together.
I mean, maybe I'll ask you this every time, if we do this every week.
Okay.
But would you sever yourself?
Probably not. I can't. Because I imagine most people sever themselves due to some sort of trauma, and maybe if I've had a great trauma in my life, that would warrant that. Uh, and I'm sure this character, I got severed just because I need the money, or I got severed because I actually had a lovely, happy life, but some other bullshit or what. I don't know.
I mean, have you considered the extreme laziness? You never have to ever think about work again. You won't ever really feel it. I mean, you're going to feel the effects of maybe your body being tired, but you're going to just have to walk in a door, walk out a door, and you just got paid for your 8 hours. And you don't ever have to consider it. You could submit that other side of yourself to that sort of hell.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, everyone who has a job or a career, whether you love it or not, you're gonna have stressful days because you gotta meet deadlines, you got to deal with a shitty customer, or you don't get along with a certain coworker. But so I've enjoyed having a job since I was 15. I've always loved having a job. I've loved interacting with my coworkers, good or bad. I, it would feel like I'm tossing away a third of my life. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's jobs. You
Yeah.
give a third of your life to a thing just so you can have money to live. But it's a third of my life that I don't remember or recognize, and any relationships I build don't mean anything because they get tossed out at the end of the shift.
Sure.
If it was a thing, if I was making $1 million a year, I'd think about it.
Okay.
Or if uh, there might be reasons for me to make that jump, but they'd have to be drastic reasons in terms of either money or trauma, or I just don't see.
I think I'm lazy enough that I would just say, fuck it. I'm going to do it. I'm never going to have to, know that I work again. And I'll have all this time for fun games and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, I know you because you're a psycho, but they even talk about it in one episode. What if your job for 8 hours a day is murdering people? Or what if you're
Sure.
They don't say this, but it's like, what if your job is to go down there and fuck a bunch of kids?
Yeah.
And you don't remember it.
I know.
You're a victim too, I guess, because you're not.
Yeah. I would put enough faith in my company, even though it's like a huge conglomerate, that they wouldn't be making me do stuff, because why would they? Why would that be a job to me be the murdering person? I would just assume I'm doing manual labor. I'm stocking shelves. I'm using a forklift, whatever.
But I imagine that's what they would want you to think.
Sure.
And I don't know where the show goes and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel, especially in this time in our country, bigger conglomerate, billionaire people don't see other human beings as people.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm not doing a job. I'm doing something for entertainment for these rich assholes.
Yeah, it's Squid Game down there, and I'm paying you a bunch of money to entertain myself because I want to see you demean yourself. Yeah. Maybe they make you eat a big pile of shit, and you got to vomit in front of them, and then they just clean your mouth, and you wake up, and you don't taste. There's no remnants in your teeth. Hey. But you ate shit earlier that day. You don't know.
I guess, but if I'm getting paid and I'm going straight home, every day you wake up and go, "Ooh, I got to go to work." Wait a minute. And then you're going home from work. You never have to think about it again. But on the flip side, the innies, that's got to suck. Like, time to get off work. Door closes, door opens. Time to get back to work. You never have any rest time, even though your body will feel relaxed. Maybe in full. You don't really have to eat because your Audi takes care of that for you. That would be mind-numbing. But I like that they're kind of like just big babies. They don't know anything about the outside world. So just having to work all the time is like nothing to them. That's just what it is. That's how you're raised. I think I would submit myself to it.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'd use the death note. I'd sever myself.
Because you're a psycho. I've said this.
Whatever I can do to make my life easier for me right now, I'm doing it. Well, I'm glad you're liking it. And it'll be interesting in the next coming episodes. Maybe it won't be. Okay. Let me do two things real quick.
Okay.
So I started watching two cartoons. Both are available on HBO. One of them is on Adult Swim, and then you can just watch it on HBO. The other one, I think, is made for HBO Max. I'll do the Fired on Mars. I don't know if you've seen anything from it.
I saw it advertised for the first time yesterday.
It kind of looks like the animation of Metalocalypse.
Mm-hmm. I have no idea what it's about. I think an office job on Mars.
Yes, he goes to Mars to be a graphic designer on Mars. And he just makes the memos of, there's a barbecue on Friday and things like that. Well, corporate realizes they don't need a graphic designer on Mars, so they fire him. But where do you go? You can't just fuck off to another town. It's this one colony on Mars. So he's kind of a bum and practically the only homeless person there, and he's doing whatever it takes to...
So is it just the one corporation that everyone works for?
Yeah,
so once you're fired, there's
nothing. And so they're just trying to figure out what to do with him, but I'm not sure if it's weeks or months go by, and he still hasn't gotten a job. So then someone dies, and he's like, perfect opportunity. I will go do their job. It'll give me purpose. And he has a girlfriend back on Earth who will eventually get to Mars. So they're trying to have this long distance thing, and he's an absolute fucking loser. And he's he's dating up, and you can tell she's kind of checked out of the relationship and doesn't know if she wants to go to Mars, and she has this like hot coworker that's her like work husband that's kind of convincing her not to. It's only 2 episodes so far. There may be a third one out by now. But it's simple and it's really sad, but still funny. It's not a joke a minute type of show. It does play it relatively serious with some dark humor.
Would you put it on like a BoJack Horseman kind of route, or not that deep? Not that.
It's not that deep, not yet. There are some introspective things to it, but that kind of is what BoJack became completely,
right?
And that's not this yet, but it is more introspective than, say, the first few episodes of BoJack, when you thought it was one thing before it got to that place. But I'd say it's worth your time, at least checking out the first 2.
Okay.
Second one is called Royal Crackers. It is this is the Adult Swim one. It is a family. I think their last name is Royal. Oh my god, that'd be. Anywho, there's a company called Royal Crackers. The man who created it is this old racist guy who is pretty much dead. He's in a wheelchair. He's non-responsive, but he's still alive, and he has 2 sons. The younger son is Theo Jr., and his older son is named Steve with a B. And there's even an episode of how like his dad didn't think much of his firstborn son, and when they were naming him, the nurse heard Steve and just like, that's a good idea. Let him know that I couldn't even be bothered to correct his name on his birth certificate. So every time someone says his name, he knows how much I dislike him. He's a real big piece of shit. But now that he's been in this wheelchair, he's in charge of the company. He has like a Karen of a wife and their son. And then Theo Jr., the younger one, he never wanted to go into the corporate world. He wanted to be a rock star. So he had a band called Taint, and he like...
All this sounds awful that I don't watch. Where's the funny part?
And so he's like my age. So all of his references are all about things from like my childhood and my teenage years. So it's perfect. And he's voiced by Andrew Santino. And he... So, I mean, he was in this band. They lasted for like a couple of months. And so he's back home. But he's never going to give up the rock and roll lifestyle. You know, the band's going to get back together, and he's hardcore. And if did I get the name right?
Yeah, I just...
But he is jealous of his older brother because like, hey, I could do this, you know, even though I don't want it, I could do it. There's about 6 episodes out now, and all of them are wildly different from what goes on. There's one where someone from Theo Jr.'s band is like staying with him, and he looks like, I can't remember his name, but he was in Limp Bizkit. He would always paint his face. Like everyone in Limp Bizkit is kind of normal looking, but there was one guy who would go all out with face paint. Or like a Slipknot type of character. Okay, yeah. And he shows up and he's kind of like mooching his way into Steve's family to replace him. And so at the end, when Steve finally gets his like courage, they have kind of not a rap battle, but you know the part in Korn where it's like they do that back and forth at each other. It's very, very, it's so absurd, but I think you would like it because I recorded it on my DVR, that first episode. I kept seeing ads for it, but with a lot of Adult Swim stuff, it's either great or don't watch it at all. And it sat there, and I said, nah, fuck it. I'm not going to watch this shit. Deleted it. But my roommate happened to watch it, and she's like, no. You need to watch this. And I'm very thankful that she suggested it. Royal Crackers. It's on HBO Max.
So I have one question.
Sure.
Does Steve count as a Steve?
Nah.
Because technically, the name was Steve. But
sure. Yeah. I mean, but nah.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah. Okay, so you played a video game.
I did. So April.
2 weeks in a row with video games, Steve. Man, you're a pro gamer.
Well, in my defense, the one game took me about 2.5 weeks to beat. This one took me 2 nights.
It's that short?
Oh, it's like 6 hours long.
Oh, okay, cool.
6 to 8 or something.
Cool.
So one of the free games this month was Tales of Iron. And I looked it up, and apparently it's supposed to be a relatively hard game. It's a very similar style to Hollow Knight, if anyone's ever played Hollow Knight. So this game is about a rat is the son of a king, and he has some older brothers, but one's a chef, one is the blacksmith, and he just seems like the next in line to take over the throne. And so he has to fight the king's guard at the beginning, and he defeats them. And so they crown him the new king because the current king is just really old. But suddenly the frog army attacks and destroys, kind of wipes out your kingdom, kills a whole bunch of people. This game's pretty bloody.
But adorable looking. I mean,
yeah.
mice with swords and stuff. That's pretty cute.
Also, read Mouse Guard. Mouse Guard, it's a great comic book.
Yeah. I don't know if you mentioned it on the show.
Well, okay. For anyone who doesn't know, Mouse Guard is a series of comic books where it's just mice, like honorable mice with swords, and they go out on adventures. There's one long form story that involves those same characters, but my favorite is Tales of Mouse Guard, where it's just a bunch of mice.
Is it TALES or TAILS?
I don't remember.
Oh.
It might not even be Tales of Mouse Guard. Maybe that's just my brain going.
Okay.
But it's essentially there all these mice are at a bar, and the bartender or the owner of the bar says, "Hey, everyone, tell me a story, and whoever has the best story, your tab is cleared." And all the stories are told in different art styles. They're all relatively short, but they're just quick. Some are very sweet, some are very scary. It's super fucking cool. Check out Mouse Guard. Anyway, so that's kind of like this. Then you, as the new king, must sort of rebuild your kingdom, defeat the frog army, but also deal with other like big insects and everything. There's zombies essentially at one point, and it's just a really cool game. Super short. I played on easy because I don't like hard games. I believe I only died twice or 3 times maybe, and so it really wasn't difficult. My biggest complaint about the game is it's not. It gets pretty repetitive in terms of combat because there's pretty much block, attack, and then an arrow button. You don't get special moves really. You get better weapons and better armor and all that stuff, but they don't give you any special abilities.
And so it's just attack. It's just the same attack. There's not a high, low, or
there's heavy attack and regular attack. Pretty much.
Is there like a jump attack?
I think you can jump attack, but I never.
You never did.
Yeah, it just wasn't. You don't have a bunch of people jumping around.
Even though they're frogs? What is this?
Yeah, I know. So the combat is a little bland, but visually it's a pretty cool game. Like I said, it's short, so it's it doesn't overstay its welcome. All the locations are really fun. There's sewer levels where you're fighting a bunch of different bugs. There you go to a mole land, and the moles are kind of, I guess if you had to put a fantasy label on it, the dwarves, because they're very, or no, the gnomes of this world, because they're very inventive and they use electricity, and they have
just like a mole.
Yeah.
Yep.
They have automobiles, so they build cars that you could use to travel at one point. So
even though they're like one of the perfect digging animals, and they could get around pretty quick underground.
They have like tram cars. And stuff. For whatever reason, they invented electricity. And you go to Frog Island or whatever and battle them there, but you have to wear a gas mask because their land is so poisonous. That's why you're not able to invade. So you have to just build yourself up. I had a good time. I think if this game was 10 hours, I would have been like, let's wrap this up. Let's get this over with. And even when you beat the game, there's still stuff you can do. I platinum this game.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's relatively easy to platinum. You can beat it, but you don't have to do a new game plus. There's just kind of 2 extra missions that you need to do in order to platinum it. And so I recommend it. It's just a fun, quick, simple game. Play it on easy mode. That way it's not too much of a...
Do you think you could get through it on a normal?
Probably, but it would... I'm guessing I would die more than I would like.
Okay.
Because at one point, I think I just got lucky. Because when you're playing a video game, you and I, we're explorers. We got to go down each corridor because we don't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
So at one point, I was going down. I'm halfway through the game at this point, and I find this boss, and it's just a secret optional boss, and you beat him, and essentially you get the best weapon in the game halfway through the game.
Okay.
So every
that's good. I hate getting it right before the final fight.
So every fight I got into or I discovered a chest or whatever it was, where it's like, here's a new weapon. I didn't use that weapon because I already had the best thing. So I have nothing to look forward to now. Like, it's great that I have the strongest thing.
Sure.
Because it definitely made all my fights easier down the line. Because I shouldn't have been able to beat that guy. Like, he came the closest to genuinely whooping my ass. But I was able to beat him. And so it was just nice. I was like, oh, this is
so if you had that sword and was on medium, you think you would still have an easy go at it?
It's really because I haven't played the medium.
That's true. You don't know how
difficult.
Yeah, because it's like, are the villains taking, instead of 3 hits, they take 7, or do they triple the amount of enemies on the screen, and that's what's making it harder? Is it you take more damage per hit? I just don't know what they mean by difficulty.
Yeah, I think it even says on it, whereas they can take more damage. And the combat's more aggressive, so you're getting hit more, and you have to hit them more.
Okay.
And it's pretty quick, and they have something like appears
like
above
a
their head,
dodge
like knowing like this is the time to counter. But it happens so quick. If you don't press the button right away, you're not countering it. So it is. I think it would be a pain in the ass to get through a second time on a harder level.
And last question. Level design, is it linear or is it open like Hollow Knight or a Metroid or a Castlevania? Or is it just you go from A, you go to B with a couple of side routes, but the ending is always just right there and you go to the next level? Or is it one big ass level and you got to get a key to unlock the next section and backtrack?
You can't. There's basically 5 locations. You can't go from 1 to 5 immediately.
Okay.
But once you unlock all the places, you can fast travel to set areas, but they are on a singular map. There's only, I think, 2 places you can go because like a bridge is knocked down, so you can't go back to level 1, let's say. But if you get to level 2, you can automatically go to level 3, but there's nothing for you to do in level 3 until you beat level 2.
Okay.
And then you can go back and do other stuff because maybe there's a doorway that's locked here, but you need to go to level 3 to get this key. So you do a lot of back and forth between the levels, so it is partially open, but not
Hollow Knight's expansive.
But not Hollow Knight's.
Because I would go around, and I'm looking for shit, and I can't find where I'm supposed to go, and then I do find a way to go, but I have no idea if that's where I'm supposed to, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm like, no, not for me.
One of the things I loved about this game is its map system, in terms of when you get there, you can press the map menu and you see that there's 30 rooms, and you see you can't
how
see
to
what's
get
in
there.
Them,
okay,
but you can see how to get there,
and that there is something there,
and it might be blocked. But once you enter that room, it basically draws everything that's.
I love that.
Room. So the map is wonderful. I never got lost. I knew where everything was. It never took a long time to get. Even if you're all the way to the right and you need to get all the way to the left, it doesn't take long to get there.
Okay.
The map system in this game is great.
Awesome. Because they do that in Silent Hill. Where I come to a dead end. You pull up your map and he scribbled it with a marker, like dead end. Like, that made it so much easier trying to get through this town.
Or you see other maps where there's just a fog over it. You don't know what's in there. It's like, you don't know what's in that room, but you know how big that room is.
Yeah, okay.
It's awesome.
Cool. Okay, so I have 2 movies. Which one do you want to hear about first? Beau is Afraid or Evil Dead Rise?
Let's get Beau is Afraid out the way.
Okay.
I just don't expect much from it.
This is a weird movie. Not surprising. But his first 2 movies, Ari Aster made Hereditary and Midsommar, both are pretty easy to follow. You may go, I'm not quite sure of this thing, but you'll generally find someone who could give you the answer for that. Where this, you could probably ask a bunch of people the same question, you're going to get a different answer because it's all what you want to get out of it. Is this something that's actually happening in the world and it is just a bit heightened and crazy? Or is this how we see the world through Beau's eyes because he does suffer from crippling anxiety and being gaslit by his mother his whole life and thinking there's this thing about him he can't do, and it's just made him like a very scaredy cat person. So we see the streets, like the first 45 minutes of this movie is amazing. I wish the whole movie was this. It's crazy tattooed hobos running after him. He's just trying to cross the street to go to the convenience store or from one to the other, and it's this bloodthirsty hobos coming after him. And then there's a guy gouging someone else's eyes out. There's they call him like the birthday suit stabbing man, and he's just this naked man who comes up and he's just stabbing anybody, and he's on the street. Then you got people just dancing and a cop trying to pick up a pregnant hooker. It's almost like Saints Row, you know, like Grand Theft Auto is, as realistic as it could be, but then Saints Row heightens it a bit.
Yeah, I think there's aliens in Saints Row.
Yeah. So it kind of reminded me of that, and it's just super wild at the beginning. And I can't talk about this entire movie. It would take me an hour to describe it beat by beat. Sure. So many weird things happen. But he has to go visit his mom, but his keys get stolen like out the door. He goes to lock his door, forgets his toothpaste, runs in, comes back, his suitcase and keys are gone. So how can he visit his mom? She thinks he's full of shit, and he's talking to a psychiatrist, and he gets locked out of his apartment. He leaves the door open a crack and goes to get some water, and all these vagrants from the street just like zombies filter their way into his apartment and just totally destroy it. So he's trying to talk to his mom. I can't make the trip, and it turns out a chandelier fell on her head and killed her. And so now he has to and the rule of her will is you cannot bury me until my son is here to be at the service. So he goes on this crazy kind of road trip journey to get there. And we're learning about his past and this young girl he met, and his dad has been out of his life the whole time because his mom says, the moment your dad ejaculated into me, he died because I became pregnant with you. Just like his father died after he impregnated his mother and his grandfather. And this is just the curse of the boys in our family. So you can't do that ever. So he's, as far as we know, he's a virgin, and he probably hasn't even ever masturbated because he's so scared of this. And you even see his balls, and they're enormous because they're just so backed up.
I was gonna say, why live?
And so he runs into Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan, and because he's naked running in the street. Cop wants to blow him away because the cop thinks he's the naked stabby guy. The naked stabby guy comes up and starts stabbing him into the palm over and over again. This movie is pretty violent and gory at times. It doesn't hold back. And then Amy Ryan and Nathan Lane hit him with his car, and so they're taking care of him. And that's a whole thing. It's I can't even go. And then he has to run away from them, and then he comes across some actors in a forest who are putting on performances for whoever, and there's 30 minutes where they're telling this play, and he thinks it's his life and that he did have some sons, but a great flood separated them, and he thinks maybe his dad is here at the play. This guy says he's his dad, and then someone starts shooting at them, and he has to run, and he's constantly, and then has to get back to his mom's house. His mom isn't dead. It was a fake out. She was just trying to get him there. And then he has to confess his sins to this arena of people. There's a giant penis monster in the attic that gets stabbed in the testicle. He sleeps with Parker Posey, and because he's so backed up, she even says he blew through the condom, and then it poisons her or something because she's frozen like a statue, and it's so weird. And it reminded me, take Mulholland Drive, or really any sort of David Lynch thing, the craziness of Mother and Schenectady, New York. I know you haven't seen Schenectady, New York, but I think
I've wanted to. I just haven't gotten around to it.
It's a weird one.
Yeah. It's Kaufman. So.
Yeah, and it's probably my least favorite of his, but the balls to do something. It also kind of reminded me of Babylon, where you get this director who's proven themselves, is a moneymaker, fan favorite. You give them the most money because this is A24's like highest budgeted movie, and it's anywhere between $35 and $50 million, and they're not going to get any of that money back.
We'll see.
I mean, it is cheap compared to a lot of movies out there, but this is a movie where probably half the people are going to walk out and demand a refund. So it's a little out there, and it makes me feel dumb because I don't always get, like, I'm the dumbass who saw Mother and didn't catch the biblical allegory. Like, I'm that stupid. So if there's things going on in this that I'm not getting, probably, no shit.
Yeah.
But at least, like, I can tell this is about a man who has crippling anxiety, and maybe that's how we're seeing it through his eyes, but other people may interpret it differently.
I mean, do you feel that the story had a beginning, middle, and end that was cohesive, or is it all just a fever dream that you could like, I get what you're saying, but the story is just absurd.
You get what is being, you get what is trying to be said until the very, very end, where because you really don't know what is real and what's not. And so I don't get the ending of, okay, I saw what happened, but what does it mean compared to everything else that happens? It's a shame the first half of this movie, even though it's like 3 hours long, first hour and a half is pretty good and very funny. Mm-hmm. Laughing a lot. But then as soon as we get to the play section, it grinds to a halt. And it's very, like, this is the most visually interesting. It's all kind of like paper craft, like you're looking through a flip book.
When I first saw this trailer, that section had me excited.
Yeah.
And then as reviews and things started coming out, this movie's just weird for weird things.
I mean, he has something to say, but this is a movie that, maybe they shouldn't think he's the golden boy and can do no wrong. Someone maybe should have stepped in and helped him reel in the story, but I'm sure for him to make this story, he had I get final cut sort of thing. I've already given you 2 hits. This is the one for me. But yeah, it needed someone to tighten it up, and you could have played this a little more realistic or scarier or funnier. You could have gone it anyway, and it just wants to be a little bit of everything. And it's very successful at a lot of it, but there is a little bit of a tone whiplash, and I wish if it could have maintained that first half all the way through, this could have been a classic. Mm-hmm. But by the end, it's not. I would never recommend this movie to anyone unless I knew who they are. We were talking about moms. I would never suggest this to my mom. I gave it a B because I can't say I loved it. It's even hard for me to say that I liked it. I like so many parts of it. Right. But it's so well made and so well acted. Like, Joaquin Phoenix is great in this. You really do feel his tension through the whole thing. And it's shot well. And everyone's performance is good, but it's not a good enough cohesive story for me to be 100% invested. But I can't give it lower. I can't give it in a C sort of territory because it's still too well made of a movie to shit on it. So
now I was thinking about Beau Was Afraid earlier today because I knew we were going to be talking about it, and it made me think of, would you put Ari Aster in the Nicholas Winding Refn camp after this movie? I only say that because Drive came out. Uh-huh. Drive was a relatively big hit. I was one of the few people who didn't really love Drive. I just love a lot of parts of it. Yeah. But as a movie, I was like, it was fine.
But at least it makes sense. You know exactly what that story is.
Yeah, but that's his Hereditary. Hereditary comes out of nowhere, huge hit. Loved by a lot of people. I think Drive did have some Oscar nominations, I
think so.
Yeah,
but a lot of people were pissed off because they thought it was the next Fast and Furious type movie.
Yeah. And then Now I know Only God Forgives definitely wasn't a hit,
Mm-hmm.
as much of a hit as Midsummer,
Mm-hmm.
but it definitely was a weirder departure than Drive, where Drive was sort of a simple, straightforward story, even though it was still a little weird. And then he did that vampire movie that you guys all watched.
Vampire movie.
Neon.
Oh, Neon Demon.
Neon Demon. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Did he not do Place Beyond the Pines? Was that someone else?
I think that was someone
Okay.
else.
I mean, I haven't seen either of those.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he didn't do Place Beyond the
Yeah,
Pines.
this is closer to Neon Demon
Yeah, so
than
I'm
Drive,
just
for
wondering
sure.
if it's. I need to get my foot in the door. I did two movies for them. Now I'm just gonna do a bunch of weird shit because people know my name, people know my product, and then I'm a little bit off kilter, so I can just make whatever shit, and people are gonna think it's.
Yeah.
Because and no offense to that style of filmmaking, art is art. Make whatever you want. I support you, but that's why I stopped watching Nicholas Winding Refn stuff. I wish he had an easier name to say. No offense.
I mean, they're all pretty standard. It's just when you put them together, it's weird. Winding Refn.
But it just feels like he was that guy in art school who, while everyone else was trying to make Goodfellas, he was like, I'm gonna make a bunch of weird shit.
I'm gonna make Elephant Man.
To me, is gonna be deep and meaningful, and you're just not gonna get it. Because my stuff is for the artist, the true artist, and it just seems. His movies just seem so fucking pretentious, and I don't want that for Ari Aster, because Hereditary, I fucking hate horror movies in general. Hereditary is a fucking horror masterpiece.
Yeah. Yep.
I love Hereditary. Make that shit.
That's how I feel about David Lynch, where everyone goes, oh, this dude's a genius, and I don't see it. I just see it's weird for being weird.
I liked Midsummer for the most part, but it definitely has some parts. What the fuck is
Did you know the director's cut is almost 3 hours?
Of course it is.
I haven't seen it, but like, how much more can you put in that movie? I wonder what they're cutting out. Is it long shots of dancing and singing and festivities, things that like go on to like, okay, this is a 7-minute montage.
It's just an extra 10 minutes of them yelling into each other's mouths.
Throwing more people off the cliff and watching them splat.
Oh god, like the legs snapping off. I don't get squeamish, but that part made me uncomfortable. Anyway,
there's a guy that trips in Beau's Afraid, and he has like a machine gun, and he lands on it, and he like just is shooting himself through his own shoulder. It's great. There's some pretty gnarly gore in this.
Yeah, I'm not squeamish, but I don't love gore. So let's talk about Evil Dead Rise.
So speaking of, I saw Evil Dead Rise, the 5th Evil Dead movie. I talked when Scream came out. You know, a lot of horror movies don't have a good track record, and Scream has pretty solid entries in that franchise. So does Evil Dead. This is the 5th one, and it's still, if you like the remake that came out 10 years ago, then you should like this. It's pretty much on the same page.
I did see the remake, and I remember enjoying it for the most part, but also remember going, that movie was fucking gross.
Yeah, that movie is very gross. And this movie I thought was going to be worse. It really isn't. So there's 2 scenes in the Red Band trailer that we have already talked about. The glass swallowing and then the tattoo on the eyeball.
Okay.
So in the trailer, it cuts right before it's going to get too extreme.
Otherwise, it's a Red Band.
I mean, it was a Red Band trailer. I just said that.
Oh.
In the Red Band trailer, we see, the glass poking out. In the Green Band trailer, you don't see the glass poking out. So you think it's going to, like, poke through the neck. It doesn't. She just swallows it. Pokes out, and then it goes down. She goes to tattoo the eyeball, gets so close, and then she turns her head and only gets her cheek. So all these parts in the Red Band trailer where you think, ooh, I can't wait to see that because it's going to be gnarly, it really isn't. They do kind of show you a lot and cut when it gets too bad. This isn't nearly as gross as the woman cutting her tongue in half or cutting her arm off, the chainsaw in the face at the end. There's a lot of awful horror in that first remake. And this is still gallons of blood, but I don't think it's as hardcore.
Okay.
I think you would have... I only squirmed one time, and it was just the eyeball tattoo. I just didn't want to see that needle touch the eyeball. I don't care if it's CG. It was going to be gross.
Well, see, I remember seeing another Red Band trailer. I think it was the Red Band trailer with a cheese grater And I did see a quick scalping cut where you do see the scalp come
right
off.
at the beginning.
I've seen enough scalpings where I know that wouldn't really bug me that much. But she's great. I had no desire to see.
It was just like a one grab, pull down the leg, and that's it. I don't think she's going back and forth. I don't remember her. And there are a couple of like leg strands that come out. But it really wasn't that bad.
Fair enough.
There is a stab through the hand, but that's it. Yeah,
a million times.
Exactly. So this movie is...
Wait, real quick. Was it a stab through the hand and that was it? Or was it a stab in the hand and then...
And then no, it was just a stab through the hand.
That's a little easier.
It is. The thing I like about this movie is it gets us out of the woods. There is a little thing at the beginning that takes place like on a lake. But I didn't need any of that because it does this annoying thing. Okay, so people at a cabin, one of the girls is possessed with the deadite stuff, kills the other two people. We get a really good intro thing where she's rising out of the water, and then Evil Dead Rise comes up over the mountains in the background, and it's reflecting down. Really cool. Then it cuts to the apartment that we're in for the rest of the movie, and that would have been fine, but it says 1 month earlier. Like, okay, so I know at the end of this, somehow it's going to get connected back to that. And I think that pulls a little bit of surprise away. If they just would have taken the 1 month later out, by the time you get to the end and you see that character come across the big final scene, you go, oh, that's the person from the beginning. Oh, that's a neat way to tie it all together. But I think they spoil it by telling you it. And this movie is very simple. Someone gets possessed and pretty much tortures everyone else because they just want to rip you apart and eat your soul and make you feel bad about it. And
that old gym.
but we'll use like deep secrets that the person it's inhabiting knows about the other people to get against them. I would say kind of like Regan in The Exorcist, but someone hasn't seen The Exorcist.
I'm working on.
So this movie, it made me feel kind of sad because when you watch a Friday the 13th and it's a bunch of dumb teens and they're just getting it on and doing drugs and not a care in the world, you want them to die. That's part of the fun. Well, this is a family, and the older sisters, the mom and her sister, they're a little estranged, but it's not so resentful that they don't talk to each other. And then the mom has the eldest, I believe, is a daughter, then a middle son, and then a youngest daughter. And they all get along and everything is hunky-dory. So when they start dying and getting possessed, it's really fucked up because nobody asked for this.
No one deserves it.
The son is the one that found the book. They're in a building and it's going to be condemned soon. And there was an earthquake and it used to be an old bank. And so he is now able to crawl in through this crack inside a vault where there's all these crucifixes hanging and like a big old statue of Jesus and the Necronomicon book and some records. And of course, he unwraps the plastic and like a million bugs fly off of it. It's made out of flesh. The lock on the side is fucking huge teeth. And he pricks his finger, blood gets on it, it absorbs, and then the teeth open up and he's able to open the book. I think that would be enough for you to go, let's not.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he opens it up. He plays the records, and they say the magic words that possesses his mom. So he did cause it. But it's just sad that his mom dies, his older sister dies. It's just the aunt and the youngest daughter that survive. There's like 6 people in the hallway that all get killed in one scene. And, man, whatever.
Well, let me just say, and I had this conversation with some people recently where the idea of ghosts came up. And I know I've told you this, but I don't know if I've said it on the podcast. I don't believe in ghosts or demons or any of that horror shit. That being said, if someone says, hey, Steve, we're going to spend the night in a haunted house, I'm not going. Steve, we're going to use this Ouija board to talk to my dead sister.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah.
I'm not going to...
You're just erring on the side of caution.
Yeah.
Just in case.
So if I am on some prank show that's like, we're going to make this guy believe that there's demons, so we're going to set up this room that he walks in, there's all these crucifixes and a book made of flesh, real or fake or whatever, I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
If someone set this stuff up, either as a prank or just they truly believe that this thing is an entity of evil,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna fuck with it.
Yeah.
I've seen these horror movies, and I'm not gonna be that guy. So if you're gonna kill me, you just have to summon the demon yourself, and then it just kills me.
Yeah.
I'm not. If I was that kid and found a flesh book in a room full of crucifixes, I would turn around immediately and go like, "That's someone else's problem."
Yeah. There was nothing in that hole. Let's go back.
I'm going to bed.
So there's one part, and you mentioned this word earlier, and I find it funny that you brought it up, where the mom kind of takes her dead children and starts getting into their flesh. And at the end, there's like a Rat King mother, daughter, son hybrid and multiple arms and legs and 3 heads that are coming after him.
Did it look cool or did it look
It looked pretty cool. It wasn't as big as The Last of Us Rat King, but it looked pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely.
I just meant, did it look too CG to be...
No, I think it was all practical.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yeah. And of course, like they end it with, of course, a chainsaw. There's always got to be a chainsaw, but it's on a wood chipper, and they chainsaw into the head and push it into a wood chipper at the same time. Pretty cool. But yeah, that's something new. Never saw Rat King in Evil Dead.
So what happens to the book once?
Oh, it just stays in the apartment. Like they open it, they read it, they listen to things of like maybe how to stop it. There's no answers.
Oh, so
and
they just escapes at the end.
They just escape.
All the evidence back.
Yeah, because the earthquake like took out the stairs, fucked up the elevator. It's hard for them to get out of here. They finally are able to, and when they see an opportunity, they just go. So the book is still in the apartment, and in a month the building is going to be condemned. But I would think someone's going to find it when all these dead bodies.
Safety people come in, check, and
they would check the floor,
especially after an earthquake. Hey, mom, or whoever, I don't know who the neighbors, but people would be calling their relatives. Oh, I can't get a hold of them. Can the police do a wellness check?
Yeah,
because I haven't heard from them in 3 days.
Yeah, for sure.
So someone's gonna find that book.
Yeah, and all the neighbors died. They don't show up to work. Yeah, someone's gonna find it. It's gonna go to the police station. Maybe that'll be a sequel. Who knows?
Because the other Evil Dead movies, like you said, all took place in the woods. In the I know there's the Army of Darkness that sent them back in time or some shit. But the book never. It was always so secluded. It's unlikely someone would find it.
Yeah, it never gets destroyed. It's always just left behind, and you're supposed to lock it up some other way, bury it, do something, but it never gets destroyed.
Did they try and destroy it in the movies?
I don't know.
I setting on fire or anything like that? Or?
Maybe one of them. I'm not 100%. But I think it's in that room, but we have a Deadite in that room. We can't really focus on the fucking book right now.
I like to watch Army of Darkness. I just don't.
I love Army. Everyone shits on Army of Darkness. It's funny. It's not that scary, but I like it better than Evil Dead 2. Everyone says Evil Dead 2 is the best of the 3. I disagree. I think.
But Evil Dead 2 is just the first one
redone with a better budget. But what's his name? The guy who plays Ash. Bruce Campbell. He's really good in 2. He's really selling it. But there's a lot more comedy. It's not as scary. The effects are nicer, but it's also more annoying. All the Deadites are really obnoxious. The first one is just real gritty and legitimately scary. But you need to go into 3. If you just go 1 to 3, it's too big of a jump. You need that little bridge of getting sillier. Okay. But yeah, I would highly recommend just watching those 2. I mean, did you see any of them besides the remake?
No. Well, I've seen the first one.
Okay.
I think right before the remake,
mm-hmm.
Just because you probably pitched it to me for years.
Probably.
Like, all right, I'll watch the first one. And I think I remember liking the first one for the most part, but going, oh, this is super dated.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of effects going, this is kind of bad.
It is like 40 years old.
Yeah. And I'm not holding that against it. I'm just saying it. I'm sure at the time
mm-hmm.
I would have enjoyed it more. But then going in, I went from 1 to the remake of 1.
Yeah.
Which I guess is technically a remake of 2 in a sense, because 2 is a remake of 1 in a way.
No, I'd say it's a remake of 1 because at the end he doesn't get sucked into a magic portal. Or she doesn't get sucked into a magic portal. But one of the classic Evil Dead things is that quick zoom through the woods and then like busting into the camera. So when this movie starts, we're doing that. We're going through the woods. We're going through the credits, and it's a drone. And I think it's a clever way of like back in the day, it was just like a dude on a BMX bike with a camera mounted on it, just riding through the woods. And now you think this is sort of the same thing, but it's just a drone. Thought it was pretty clever. I like that. And then of course she takes the drone and smashes it in her face because she's a crazy Deadite person and gets cuts all over her face. It's pretty great.
Fun for the whole family.
So last thing I'll say, it's a question to you. There's one part where the aunt and the youngest daughter are in the elevator. They're trying to get down. The Deadites are screaming at them, and the elevator starts filling up with blood. And then it drops from, let's say, I think it's 6 floors up.
Okay.
So it's full, and it smashes down. They wash out, and they survive, of course. And I was thinking, is that safer than not having it filled with a liquid? Because you know that urban legend of elevator falls right before it hits the ground. If you jump, you'll be safe, which is just not true. The timing, it would have to be, impeccable. You would have to be so pitch perfect on that for it to do anything. But the impact and the force would probably do enough damage.
Yeah, I've been told you just lay flat, and that's your best chance.
Yeah, maybe, but it's like that impact is all. Anywho, but if the elevator is filled with liquid and it does the same thing, do you think that would help your chance to survive, or would it be worse?
So there's two schools of thought. I would think it would help upon impact because if you're in the water does, I would think it would slow the impact. I think because it's so small, it wouldn't really matter anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it would really do any good. But I like it if depending, like let's say you're on the 100th floor
Mm-hmm.
and you start from there and go down and it's half full of water. Well, like from the motion, the water would rise and you would rise too. So imagine drowning as you're falling. That's what I would think about.
That's funny.
Because it all shoots up.
Yeah.
And you're going fast enough.
If you were going fast enough.
If you're going fast enough. Yeah, this is my cartoony thing.
Yeah.
But I think that'd be real funny.
Huh.
I'm going to drown before you even hit the bottom. I think that'd be a fun idea.
Yeah, I was just wondering if like the impact would be dampened or would it be amplified?
Oh.
Because also like once they hit, the doors bust open and you slosh out. So when you hit, you may think you're going to slam against the wall, but if all the water is leaving, you're going to go with it. Would you not take as much damage, or would you bounce around even more because you're so free flowing?
Yeah.
Because I feel without the water, you're just getting smashed against one wall and then you're crushed.
Yeah, I think either way you're fucked, so it doesn't really matter. It's not a matter of which worse, is you're going to die either way.
Well, I'm going to vote for elevator filled with blood. That's how I want to go.
Oh, yeah. I mean, blood is thicker than water. I keep imagining water.
And so is this nice kind of like shining moment of elevator opening and blood coming out. Yeah. But I would recommend this movie if you like any of the Evil Dead. It's a little tamer than the last one, surprisingly. So I want to give a shout out to the two leads, Alyssa Sutherland. She's the main Deadite mom that you see in all of the trailers. I guess she was on Vikings. She's not in a bunch of stuff that I know. I guess she's a model. She is fantastic in this. She is so scary. Her features are so strong. And with the bloody mouth and nose, she kind of looked like this killer clown. But in the movie, she kind of reminded me of Bryce Dallas Howard meets Katie Sackhoff.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then her sister in the movie, the character's name is Beth. Her name is Lily Sullivan. And she kept reminding me, is that the... Yeah. This isn't a good picture to judge her on, but anyhow. So Lily Sullivan, she reminded me of Neve Campbell and Clea Duvall. She just, especially Clea Duvall. Not in this picture. Don't look at this picture.
Not in that picture.
She actually kind of looks more like Zoe Kravitz and Rashida Jones than anything in this. But yeah, Neve Campbell, Clea Duvall, and Bryce Dallas Howard, Katie Sackhoff. It's like they wanted to get these big names, but they went with the Kirkland brand versions. But they both were really excellent. Everybody was. All the kids, even the little girl. This is maybe a year of funny names. You know, in Dungeons and Dragons, we had Jornathan. So she cuts off like a doll's head and puts it at the end of this staff, and it's named Staffany.
That's funny.
Yeah. So
that's
some pretty good names. But yeah, that's it. Evil Dead Rise. Good stuff if you like gross horror movies.
I mean, just from the trailer, I would say that I had full faith that the Deadite woman was going to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Just from the trailer, she is real scary in this. Just from the mommies with the maggots now kind of shit. Like,
Yeah.
oh god,
Yeah, she's excellent.
awesome.
But that had to have been a hard role because she's more deadite than human. So being in makeup every single day, covered in blood,
Real
doing
physically demanding.
weird positions of hanging from the ceiling. Yeah, so bravo to her.
I really want to know what it's like being the youngest daughter on that kind of set.
Yeah,
Because I'm still a big scaredy cat at 30 something.
yeah, and
So to
she's
be that little
9 years
girl, I
old.
mean, yeah, I know it's fake and you're on the job and maybe she's been in the industry since she was
Mm-hmm.
2 or something. I don't know, but still to sort of try and inhabit this world of your demon possessed mom.
Yeah,
Just seems like it would freak me out, or I'd have nightmares as a kid.
yeah. You have to obviously get permission from your parents to be on that, and they said they shot it in chronological order, so it would be hard to. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was easier to shoot around her not seeing some of the more horrific things, but do you tell them what's happening? Because I remember when Kirsten Dunst was doing Interview with the Vampire, or years later, they asked her, "Well, how do they get you to be kind of sexual when you're so young and you don't really quite know what these adults are supposed to be feeling?" And she would say, "Oh." They would come to me and say, imagine this person has a toy of yours and you really want that toy and you'll do whatever it takes. Like they'll use different analogies for it. I wonder if they had to do that with her as well. Is it different when it's violence? Because, Americans love violence, but hate sexual things. So maybe this is easier to tell the kid, like, oh yeah, she's a demon and we're going to put a nail through her forehead and that's just what you do. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And they don't have to lie to her.
American schools.
Yeah, I've been there. So yeah, I wonder how it is for her on set. Do they try to not shoot her in the same scenes where like they have to be seeing? Because I would have to really pay attention with that sort of mindset. Because I don't know if there is a scene where she is standing next to something horrified, or is it all just reaction shots? So they go like, oh, it's a big scary monster, but she doesn't actually know what the monsters look like. I don't know, but it'd be interesting. I would say one last thing is I wish there was a little more characterization with these people because like, oh, I'm mom and my sister is the one who ran away to become a guitar tech, and she keeps calling her a groupie. And then I'm the oldest daughter, and I'm an activist, and I'm the oldest son, and I'm a DJ, and I'm the youngest daughter, and I'm quirky. And then that's about it. And except that they are family. There's not much else to them. You are endeared to them pretty early, but I don't know, a little bit more could have gone a long way.
But I mean, the Evil Dead franchise has never been known for characters outside of Ash, right?
Sure, yeah, it's true. But I just felt in the remake we had a little more of a connection because they were trying to get their friend off of drugs.
Right.
It just felt there was higher stakes than just this minor falling out between sisters, and then all of a sudden one's possessed. So, they do. In the first one when the tree rapes her and like wraps her up in the branches and stuff. They don't do the rapey part, but they tie her up. She's in the elevator when she's getting possessed, and so all these cables come down. They hold her up, and very reminiscent of that. Lot of little nods like that. But yeah, good. Okay. Main topic.
Let's get to it.
So if I didn't say, maybe I did. Our main topic is Ghosted. Since we are heavily invested in Chris Evans and all his comings and goings.
Yeah, essentially Chris Evans. 10% of Chris Evans' podcast is what I've said.
So we watched Ghosted, an Apple Plus exclusive, starring Chris Evans and Ana de Armas as... he's lovesick. He just...
Hopeless romantic.
He just wants to be loved, and... He's a little too clingy, though. And his whole family makes fun of him. His family's way too invested in his love life. They were all like, oh, so you went home and fucked that chick, huh? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, I turned to my wife when we were watching this earlier today. I was like, this family is gross.
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe it's just my I didn't really talk about this kind of stuff.
No.
And even when I was like dating people, I refused to answer any questions. And not just like sexual questions. It was just like, I just didn't.
So what does your parents do? Mom, leave me alone.
I just don't talk about my personal life, even to my personal family.
I was waiting for Amy Sedaris, who plays his mom, to say something like, well, she'd be lucky to get a hog like yours. Like they're a little too close. They're right in that edge. And also, I thought Amy Sedaris is his mom. That's weird. She's not that much older. She's 20 years older than Chris Evans.
Tracks.
And that's fine. And the dad, he's only 18 years older than Chris Evans. Still works, but I just figured they were closer in age. But what am I know? Anyway. So yeah, he's hopeless romantic. He works at a farmer's market selling, I don't know, something. I know the other person was selling plants. Was he selling like spices, herbs? I don't know what his crop was.
When he walked over to watch his friend's stall, stall
table,
I totally forgot he had his own. I thought that was his.
Yeah,
and he was he's selling plants. I was like, oh wait, no, she came. Wait, what the fuck was he selling? Yeah.
And then he just fucking bails on it to go on a date with her. And I'm like, okay, she was going to watch your stand for a minute while you go talk. You're leaving for the day. But they do answer that later. He's talking to his dad like, hey, thanks for cleaning up my stall after I left yesterday. I'm like, okay, not a plot hole. Good for you. But anywho, she comes along. Anna de Armas she's going through something in her life. And she's talking to her therapist. And she just needs a fresh start because there was a death at her job. And it could happen to her. And maybe she just wants a more normal life. So she goes to buy a plant, and they have a little cute back and forth, but then he starts kind of insulting her and like, well, you're not going to be good enough to take care of this plant because she's gone all the time. And so they have a meet cute that turns into, I don't know, what's the opposite of meet cute? Veggie ugly?
A veggie ugly?
Opposite of meat is vegetable. Opposite of cute is ugly. So they have a veggie ugly.
Veggie uglies could be... Oh,
and it's a plant thing.
Write that down.
Veggie ugly.
I don't know if that's a movie or a sketch idea, but veggie ugly. That's funny.
I'm gonna look at that years later and go, what the fuck does that mean? So then he asks her out, and they go on an amazing date. They spend all night together, and it's wonderful. But the next day, she doesn't respond to his texts. He texts her like 7 times, including emojis.
One could say he might have been ghosted.
That's where the title's from.
That's the name of this movie.
She wasn't dead the whole time, so I was really confused. Thank you, Steve. I am not up with today's slang. But yeah, so she ghosts him, and because he's neurotic and he has trackers on all of his stuff, he left his inhaler with her, so he's going to go track her down. That's the basic premise. Oh, and then it turns out she's a spy. We'll get to some of that. Going in, did you have any expectations on this movie? Because we watched the trailer a couple weeks ago, and we were rolling our eyes.
I thought the trailer was bad because I thought, here are 2 actors we love. Chris Evans, there's some movies of his I haven't seen, but I've seen almost all of them.
Yeah.
And he's great in all of them.
Yeah.
And I thought that this trailer looked below both of them.
Yeah. This was a what's your numbers type movie. Like Chris Evans and Anna Faris in a did I have too much sex story? And it's like, how dare you? You're better than that.
These are A-list actors who... She was just an Oscar nominee.
Yeah.
And Chris Evans has never been an Oscar nominee.
Yeah.
But he's put on some really good performances.
Yeah.
He's been in one of the biggest movies of all time. And this just felt like these are A-list actors. This is a movie for B-list actors. Mm-hmm. These are the people who are on the come up who need to do a big romantic action comedy so they can become the A-listers.
Yeah.
So this movie felt beneath them. But I thought because of who they are, this movie was going to be a secret hit.
Mm-hmm.
This movie was going to be a lot of fun action-wise, has some solid jokes comedy-wise, and have some cute-ish moments enough because this is the 3rd movie they've done together, so they clearly have chemistry. Boy, was I wrong. Because none of that was really... I think the action was solid. And we can get into more of that. But everything else, I didn't like.
I didn't hate this movie.
I don't
this
hate
movie,
it. I just don't like a lot of it.
This movie was better than I thought it was going to be. Mainly because he's really kind of needy and she calls him out on it. And like, yeah, maybe I would have called you back, but you text me 7 times in a 24-hour period. Like, get the fucking hint, dude. Maybe I can't get to my phone. And they kind of bicker more than they like smooch on each other. The most of the movie, they are kind of at each other's throats and are willing to kind of just go their separate ways and are forced to be around each other. And even then, it's not till the very, very end where they actually kind of start liking each other again. So I didn't expect that. I thought they were going to just be kind of cutesy through the whole thing. And because I think the action is pretty fun and these two are likable, I kind of enjoyed this movie.
I thought you were going to hate this movie.
It's not great, but it's totally serviceable. And it surprised me as not being as generic and cliche as it could have been.
So, I just feel like everything about it is pretty cliche. It's only elevated by the amount of people who are in it. I think the writing of this movie is horrendous. I really don't like essentially any of the dialogue. I think it's below Chris Evans. I don't. To me, there's a part of me that likes the idea of here's a super handsome guy who's bad at dating because he is so needy.
But that's my biggest problem. They needed it. He's miscast in here.
Yes.
If this was like Jay Baruchel, where
see, I was going to say, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
But it's like he's too pretty to be failing so often at dating. He's not as annoying or as a dork or problematic. He doesn't send up red flags as much, except that he's just kind of needy. He needed to be a little more annoying, and because he's gorgeous, statuesque Chris Evans, I don't buy it.
Yeah.
I think he would have no trouble finding someone who wants to stick around just based off of his looks. So if you had someone like a Jay Baruchel in the She's Out of Your League, is that what it was called?
Yeah.
I could believe it a bit more. But
see, I was going to say, I think this would have been a good role for Little Dicky to branch out from Dave and still play that kind of character of just, I'm looking for love, but I'm too needy and neurotic or whatever, but still have the charisma to go.
Perfect.
So this would have been a good vehicle for him,
sure,
I think.
Absolutely. Who do you want as Anna de Armas? Do you still want her, or is she too pretty for him?
No, I think... I just think Anna de Armas is too good for this movie too.
She's pretty good in this. I like her.
No, she's the best part. I think. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think Chris Evans is miscast in this. I agree. I think, and it's not because I don't. I think he acts well enough in it. Maybe it's because of who he is, and I've seen him only play cool guys. I can buy him being an asshole, and that's why girls don't like him, like Scott Pilgrim. Or I can see him kind of being, a drug addict, and that's why girls don't like him.
A Dane Cook type or something.
A Dane Cook type. Or in Gifted, where I don't have time for dating because I'm so busy raising my niece or whatever. Like, there's reasons for him not to be in relationships because he's not emotionally available or he's got his own set of problems. But to be like, oh, I'm handsome and likable, but once you start dating me, I become this like super creepo dude. It was just a hard sell for me.
Yeah, if he had a good date with someone who wasn't an international spy that was local, who would have gotten his text and may have responded so quickly, like, would he have struck out eventually because he gets needier and needier and needier as the relationship goes on? I don't know. I just assumed he was just like, it was just this circumstance of him being a little extra needy in this, and because she wasn't someone local, that's why it didn't work out. I think he would have been just fine if it was a normal human being who got this text.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's plenty of handsome men who are super needy and could be this character. Yeah. It's just when we've seen Chris Evans not play this type of character so many times, and he's so good at that. So to see him do this, it just seemed wrong.
Yeah.
Anywho, Anna de Armas, She's an action star. I think she's great. I think the action in this is actually pretty well crafted.
Yeah, it's hard when you compare everything to John. I compare everything to John Wick, and everything like, okay, that looks so staged. That doesn't look naturalistic at all. Everything is starting to look cheaper because if you compare it to John Wick or a Mission Impossible, you're never going to win. But I think for what it is, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, if you look at John Wick or the Raid movies, or your general kung fu movies, the thing that sells them is their long takes with people who know how to do the moves.
Yeah.
Where this, it's not long takes.
It's cut up.
It is cut up, but it's not taken. It is. You can always follow the action, and it doesn't look ridiculous, and it doesn't look like you're getting a bunch of stunt doubles. It's shot well enough because Chris Evans has been doing action movies with Captain America for long enough. He can be in the scenes.
Yeah.
And Armas did No Time to Die, which she was the best part of that. She kicked ass in that movie. She kicks ass in this movie. And I think that's why she's going to kick ass in the John Wick Ballerina spinoff. Yeah. Like, I think she is great.
Pause real quick. Did you know there's already a trailer for the Continental? We were just talking about that. I thought that was like talks about maybe starting a production, but that was already in production for a while now. I was very surprised. But anyhow,
on Peacock.
Hey, Peacock's really pulling out the stops. They're doing what it like for Peacock and Paramount Plus. They're not the greatest streaming channels. They really kind of have their few things. Like, oh, if you have Peacock, you're going to get your wrestling stuff, and like with Paramount, you're going to get. I can't remember what they have, but they each have like, oh, we have The Office, and that's enough for some people to sign up for it. But they're not resting on their stuff. They are constantly releasing new things, and I'm very surprised that they haven't folded instantly, that they are still around. Yeah.
So we talked about the action. Let's talk about comedy.
Okay.
There's one scene. It's the obvious one. But the rest is kind of... It just seemed like generic jokes.
Okay. What's this obvious scene?
So not necessarily it's the comedic scene. It's just it's funny that this is happening.
Is it the cameos?
It's the cameos.
Okay.
It's the assassins killing assassins. It's not that the joke is that funny. I just think it's the bit is.
It's a funny bit.
It's a funny bit.
Yeah.
And
so they get captured by an assassin, walks him out, and then an assassin kills that assassin. And it's another big celebrity. And then that assassin gets killed by another assassin.
All within the span of 3 minutes.
3 minutes. And so we start with Anthony Mackie.
His his hitman name is Son of Sam.
Yeah.
He played Sam Wilson.
Yeah, that was
a little
interesting.
on the nose.
And then he gets killed by John Cho. Mm-hmm. I don't remember his assassin name.
It was the Leopard.
The Leopard. And then he gets killed by Sebastian Stan.
Which I can't believe. I was waiting the entire time. He's going to say the Winter Soldier. He's got to. Like, this has to. There's no way he's going to play an assassin character and not be named. Or he's going to be the summer killer or something.
Yeah, but...
Doesn't matter.
It's like the Nightingale or something.
Whatever.
The rain.
But
I think it was another animal one. I think it was like the unicorn or something. Whatever.
But anyway, it's one of those moments where it's so distracting.
Yes.
That they're here. It really does take you out of the movie. So it doesn't work in that regard.
No.
But at the same time, it's just, it's nice to see that person here.
And I get Anthony Mackie, and I get, one that shows up later. But why John Cho? It's interesting. Why him? He's not known to be an action guy. He's not connected to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So why is it him?
I was trying to think of if he did a movie. Because, this movie was produced, written by Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who did Deadpool, which explains another cameo later. And then it's produced by Chris Evans, so it explains why he got Anthony Mackie.
Yeah.
But it's like,
but why
where does John Cho fall in this line? Because the other thing we didn't talk about was Armas wasn't the first choice for this movie.
Oh, really?
It was Scarlett Johansson. This was supposed to be another Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson vehicle. But apparently she dropped out because of scheduling conflicts. So he was like, well, then get Anna, because I've done a bunch of movies with her.
If I can't bang Scarlett, I'm banging Anna. You're gotta give me one of the top tier hotties.
You can't keep pitching this.
I don't have to
Scarlett
pitch it.
Johansson constantly cheats on Colin Jost with...
She absolutely is. I would bet money on it. And he is just like happy to have even visited the park. He's
to visit the park. Is that we're definitely cutting off.
Like, Colin Jost is like, he's not the ugliest guy, but he's just lucky. He would be me if I just happened to get on SNL and because of that status, I got to date Scarlett Johansson. I would understand. She's too good for me. I can't keep her to myself because it's either I share her with the god Chris Evans or I get nothing. So I'm calling you, Colin Jost, you're a cuck.
Oh my. I can't be part of this podcast. You're going to get me canceled by association.
Oh no, our 26 followers are going to cancel us.
Still. Oh boy. Anyway.
And then he's going to be like, yeah, call me a cuck. I'm married to Scarlett Johansson. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're right. I do the same thing.
Masturbating in my apartment alone.
I'll go back to masturbating to your wife. You win.
Jesus. Ooh, that took a dark turn. Anyhow.
But
this was going to be a full-blown Marvel movie,
that would have been,
which is
that's pretty
jarring.
fun. Adrian Brody, has he been in a Marvel movie?
No, not yet.
He seems like he would have been one of the choices for Bruce Banner for Incredible Hulk if Edward Norton didn't show up.
But I don't know if you remember this, but the FBI agent who kind of interrogates Chris Evans is like, why are you protecting her?
Oh, okay.
That guy. He was Bushwhacker, or whatever his name was, in Luke Cage.
Bush? Oh,
he was like the villain of season 2.
Yeah, the guy that was kind of... He was from Jamaica. Yeah. Was his name Bushwhacker?
I think so.
Or the Bushman? Bushman?
Bushwhacker, Bushmaker.
Okay.
It was.
I did not recognize that.
So technically, there was another
one. Okay. Can we find one even past that? I mean, besides the cameo later, he's not official yet. Yeah.
Anywho. So comedy-wise, didn't work for me. Is there any jokes that you remember or liked? Because I just felt like all their banter wasn't that. I mean, I always enjoy it the way Chris Evans is like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
Like, some of his reactions I think are good, but they're not necessarily funny.
Yeah, he's selling it. Everything was pretty believable, and there was a couple of times that I laughed, but there's not any sort of joke that I truly remember.
Yeah, it was kind of like I laughed at the reactions or the scenario, but not because a joke was funny.
Yeah.
Real quick, back to the action. It's a thing in a bunch of movies, but I hate it. I wrestled in high school, and that made him a quality fighter against mercenaries and FBI agents or what. It's just that shit drives me crazy.
I know, but I get it. If he was just kicking ass for no reason, then he's not your everyman. You gotta plant that little seed. I
think I would just buy him more if he was.
He's just a big guy.
I know he's a big guy.
Yeah, and he's just throwing him around. Like, you don't have to establish he was good in wrestling. Oh, did you mention it?
Or just make him a UFC fighter. Not a professional or whatever, but just, I wrestled in high school.
Yeah.
That's it?
That's
all it took?
Yeah. He's athletic enough, clearly. You could see him, and he has some skill. But I can't remember who was making the analysis, but it was like in Green Room. One of the guys in the band puts a dude in like a lock, like a chokehold, and there's never any point where they're like, "Oh, dude, I have to get back to my wrestling tournament," to establish he knows how to do that. And like, this is just something some people know. You don't have to establish that they're good at a thing. It'd be one thing if he's hacking NASA all of a sudden out of nowhere, but just to see a big guy like Chris Evans being able to throw people around and put them in locks or whatever, you just believe it because people know these things, and you don't always have to establish. But that's just like simple screenwriting shit.
And I know it's also, it's a romantic comedy action film, but it's always interesting when there's a character who's never killed anybody, and Chris Evans does, and it's like, oh my god, you made me kill a person. But then it's me like, well, I guess I'll just kill a bunch of more people.
Yeah, by the end, he's just...
Not that he goes on a killing spree, but once that first kill is over with, he's immediately cool with, I'm going to gun down anyone in my way.
And you're in that situation, I would probably do the same thing.
I guess so, yeah. But it's just, sometimes you would think that there would be some sort of, him sitting down and trying to gather all this information, like figure out how he's going to deal with it.
How to process
mentally,
the whole thing.
Emotionally, but it's just kind of, got to keep going, I guess, or I'll die.
I think it works because the first time he's given a gun, he tries to tell someone like, put it down, like he's going to hold them up, and she has to take the gun away from him and shoot. I think because of the situation he's in, it's forgivable.
The bus sequence makes more sense. He kind of kills people, not by accident, but by motion. He doesn't stab a dude in the face or shoot a guy in the head until he accidentally kind of kills someone, and then he's willing to I guess he just shoots one bullet and then the car flips and explodes. Okay. Yeah, he's just a murderer now.
But the action scene at the end in the
that was a fun set piece.
It is.
It's absurd, but it's fun.
Yeah, a rotating restaurant. I don't care how you fuck with the engine. It's like kind of built in that it won't go much faster than that. I don't think you could ever put it on like a hyper speed without it instantly cracking and wiggling from its foundation. Right. But and I like that, like the engine room is just like 2 gears in a control box. It's like the most simplistic thing. And I was just happy someone went through it. We didn't see him get ground up, but I'm glad someone went into that gear.
And see, I wish that part fucked Chris Evans up more, because I can't imagine seeing a human being go through a gear and get split in half.
Yeah. If he got splattered with blood and his face just like stayed neutral, and you could just tell like and he screams, and then you cut real quick. Yeah. Something, but he kills the dude and like, let's get back to killing guys.
Yep. Gotta go save Armas.
I did like that kill of, since the thing is rotating, but there's part of that is not rotating. So there are some walls that if you stuck your arm out, it's going to clip.
Oh, yeah.
And that guy gets his head taken off. That was good.
Got me. I laughed out loud at that part. I really enjoy a very clever kill in movies. And that was a good one. And him doing that cool like slide through
down the tables and stuff.
Awesome.
That was cool. Yeah.
That last action set piece was sweet.
Pretty awesome. And then so our extra cameo shows up here. Everyone's having a big firefight, and then here comes Ryan Reynolds with an eye patch and no dick apparently. And it's just like, please, Ana de Armas, take me back. And she's like, we really got to do this now. And
you shooting off my penis was the best thing. Maybe he didn't necessarily say you did it, but you were there when it happened.
Yeah. I assumed it was because of her. Maybe she didn't do it, but because of her involvement, I
think it was kind of a callback to the guy who lost
his hand. Yeah,
because of her. She didn't do it, but
yes. We needed a third one. It's always that joke. It comes in threes. You would do him. You would do another one who, maybe he lost his eye, and then Ryan Reynolds shows up, and it's the payoff of he lost his dick. Mm-hmm. I do think he needed one more, but still, pretty funny joke, and then he just scoots away, and that's the last of it.
He showed up, and I was like, does this guy just make his living off of cameos now? I'm just going to do Deadpool movies and cameos. Yeah. Because I'm friends with everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody likes me. I'll do one day on set, get paid a ton of money, and I'm out of here.
Yeah. But cameos for the sake of cameos do take you out. Like in Bullet Train, like Channing Tatum shows up, and you instantly just halt and go, oh God, that's Channing Tatum. And I couldn't sit and enjoy that assassin scene, because it was just, once I knew kind of how the joke was going, I was waiting for the next person to show up, and who's that next cameo.
Which is weird, because you can watch a movie, not that this correlates, but let's say you're watching a Wes Anderson movie filled with celebrities.
Sure.
And, just huge names. And so it shouldn't be jarring that anyone shows up.
Yeah.
But then if you see Tom Cruise walk in and he's only in one scene, you're like, oh, you're instantly...
Like in Tropic Thunder or something.
That's a little different, because he has a long part.
Sure.
But essentially.
Because I didn't know he was in that movie.
There's just some actors, regardless of size, just the fact that they're in a thing that you didn't know they were in, you're suddenly taken out.
Yeah.
So, it's weird.
Cute, and maybe you wait 10 years, and that won't have as much of an impact.
Sure, fair enough.
Just right now, it's Marvel shit. It's that's how whenever I look at any new poster or trailer, it's always, oh, isn't that interesting? Kate Bishop is hanging out with Thanos. Isn't that kind of funny? What a movie. I don't think that's a real. Have they ever been in a movie together?
Who knows anymore. I'm surprised she hasn't made the jump into the Marvel universe yet, as popular as she is.
Yeah,
I don't know where she would fit, but I think
it's going to be Secret Wars is going to be the big thing, where we force everyone together for this big thing, and then
Jean Grey or something.
Who?
Ana de Armas. Who did you think I was talking about?
I thought you were talking about Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop's in this fucking.
I know. I thought you were saying like I'm surprised she hasn't like been in anything else besides Hawkeye.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Sorry, I'm talking about Adam.
Yeah, and I'm sure she's been approached, but it would probably be the
Storm.
Yeah. No, she would be not an Asgardian, but someone like that. Someone a little more elevated than just a person, even if she is a super genius. And actually, yeah, I don't see her playing super genius. It's like Jessica Alba playing super genius. Doesn't quite work. I'm not saying Anna de Armas is dumb, but I can't see her pulling off the smarty pants. Oh, did you hear who may potentially be Mr. Fantastic? The big rumor.
Me?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah. Congratulations, Steve.
It.
You got the height and the head shape. Yeah, just put a little gray in. I mean, you're maybe a little too young, but it would work. Actually, you're probably the same age as the person who's getting it. But Adam Driver. Okay. And I haven't seen Adam Driver with short hair in a while. And hopefully they do. But I could see it working. He doesn't look exactly like him, but I think he has the gravitas and the acting ability to be a cold, brilliant man who can learn a lesson and maybe lighten up later. It's not great, but I would be okay.
Scarlett Johansson had already done Black Widow because
she'd be a good Sue Storm.
She'd be a good Sue Storm, and that'd be a fun little connection of they did Marriage Story where they like got a huge divorce and I wish you were fucking dead.
Yeah,
to me they
and
just being the wholesome.
The Richards family, like he is kind of not like abusive to his wife, but it is kind of like, I know you're really smart, honey, but can you get the boy some coffee? You know, that sort of thing. So I'm okay with Adam Driver.
Yeah.
I think maybe he could have been a better Doctor Doom. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're gonna take a pause on Ghosted real quick. Okay, so
here we go.
We know Jonathan Majors is done. You know, there's enough people, there's enough text. His own fucking not label, but his people have dropped him. His agent has dropped him.
Sure.
So
we say that, but at the same time, this is still in the early stages, and we have someone like Ezra Miller who actively abducts minors and does all this crazy shit.
Sure.
Like that's 10,000% been proven, but still Flash.
There has been time. You know, it didn't happen this year, and it probably won't matter next year. Mm-hmm. He won't be the Flash in any form. So one last movie, okay, we can put up with his antics to get this last one out. Jonathan Majors is supposed to be the next big bad thing for a few years, multiple movies, TV shows. It's a big deal that, and one, Marvel hasn't even dropped him yet officially, so they may still
all the options out.
They may still be waiting to the last minute, but they got to be scrambling. So I've heard one thing of, well, how do you get rid of it? Well, at the end of Quantumania, we saw all the Kangs in an arena. You open back up at that scene and someone comes in and just nukes the whole thing. And it ends up being like Doctor Doom or something. Doctor Doom got screwed over by Kang in a universe. He's going to get revenge. Now he's the big bad. Cool, fine, do it. But if they want to really stick with Kang, they're going to have to recast. And because of multiverse stuff, it doesn't matter if it looks alike. But I'm assuming they want to go with a pretty built black male. So I thought of two people who could probably slip into this role pretty well.
Okay.
So first one is, I was going to say his nickname that we say, sure. Yahya Abdul Mateen II, right?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even mean to do that.
But he proved himself. He can do comic book stuff in Watchmen, and he's an excellent actor. He's a large man. I think
I'm okay with that choice, yeah.
But I think the more fun one would be John Boyega. He may not be as big, but I think he has the charisma and we haven't seen him get too dark, but I think it's there. He's a good actor. Sure. I think he could slip into this role pretty easily.
Yeah, I feel like the thing that would hold Yahya back is star powers in there. But I mean, it also Chris Hemsworth wasn't a star. Tom Hiddleston wasn't a star, but they made him one.
Yeah.
But maybe for their big bad, they want a established thing. Josh Brolin was an established guy.
Yeah.
They got big A-list actor to be the big bad.
Sure.
And so. But I think John Boyega would be fun. After watching Ghosted, here's my pitch. Go complete other direction. Make John Cho. Okay. Fuck it.
Okay.
Because I like John Cho. I wish I saw him in more stuff. I think he was... Cowboy Bebop was not his fault. I think he was actually pretty good in that. And I would like to see him do kind of big budget action flicks because I'd like to see him whoop ass. I think John Cho is fucking cool.
Yeah.
And
I saw a lot of people wanted him for Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah. I'd be fine with that too. Honestly, just put him in stuff. No, I talk shit on Marvel on here. More or less, I still enjoy him, but I just want to.
But maybe they could be saving him for, well, when we have other Asian characters, maybe we want to save it for John Cho.
He's in the next Shang-Chi.
Maybe. I guess what was it? Stephen Ewan is gonna be in like Thunderbolts. So I mean I'll be happy to see him in Marvel.
Yeah, I'd love to see him do more stuff too, but I don't give a fuck about Thunderbolts. Who cares?
Me. Should we get back to Ghosted?
Back to Ghosted,
okay,
yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for Ghosted. Is there much else?
Let's go with we did the action, we did the comedy, the romance stuff. Did you enjoy them together?
I do, but it also is just infuriating seeing the two most beautiful people be cute together and like, oh, look at how easy it is for you. But no, I believe them. Yeah, if they started dating in real life, which I'm sure they have, like, in some sort of official capacity, I'd believe it. You don't think they're cute together?
I mean, as human beings, yeah, of course. But in this movie, I just think that I buy their chemistry in terms of I've seen them in these movies and they work well together, and I think I like seeing them together, and if they did more movies together, I'd be happy for that. But as characters, I didn't like them together.
Okay.
Because he was needy and annoying, and she lied about her job and all that stuff, and it makes sense. That's what spies do. But all the scenes where they're being cute, where she would fall for him, I didn't really buy any of that stuff. I feel like she would be so intelligent and elevated in terms, like, if this is someone she met and you do a Mr. and Mrs. Smith thing where he doesn't know she's a spy and they get married and fall in love, and it's just like, he is someone I love and care for, but because I love and care for him, he can never know about my job. But once he found out about her, I don't buy them together for the rest of the movie. She should have been, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pull you into this. I'm cutting this off right now. And I know they're forced to be together, and so it's them sort of breaking that stuff down over time. But once they get to the relationship, I didn't really buy the journey there. But once they're at the end where he's studying history or whatever in England, and they're going to the opera or whatever building that was to see a show, I like that idea of like, yeah, I'm cool with your job. And he's opened up the trunk, and there's a guy in there. Oh, another day at the office, honey. Okay, I love you. And they just go off on their date. I like that stuff. But the journey to get there, I didn't buy for one fucking second. For me.
Did you rate this at all?
Yeah, I have a feeling because I don't watch a bunch of bad stuff, this might be on my worst of the year.
Oh, no. The year's early. There's going to be a lot more bad stuff. This is not even the worst of it.
I haven't taken a early preview as seen broken down what would it be in the worst. I'm just saying this is a C for me.
Okay.
Because I enjoyed it enough, but I wanted more from two people I genuinely like as actors and who have up until now never really let me down.
Okay.
We're still Chris Evans heads over here. I'll see any movie he's in because, like I said, he does great stuff. But I was a little disappointed in this movie because I think
these two actors deserve better material.
Yeah, this is a paycheck movie.
Yeah.
They did this because it was simple enough. It was something different than what they were necessarily doing. She doesn't do a lot of comedy. He used to. I see why they took this. I give this a C plus.
Okay.
This is better than average. I've seen some garbage. That isn't nearly as charming or interesting or have good action sequences. This is a good enough movie. This is a movie I would recommend to my mom because this would be
100%.
Aren't they so cute? I just hope that they get together and wasn't that fun?
My parents, I bet, would love this movie.
Yeah.
You know what? What's one thing I want to talk about, and we can cut around this if we want. But I just
say that, and I don't know if you ever noticed, but I don't really.
Yeah,
I don't cut around it. It is where it is.
I just want to talk about, because we talk about his neediness, we don't ever talk about the creepiness aspects of it. Because she says he's kind of creepy in this, and he is.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I've sort of been this dude at times because I was raised on movies and television.
Yeah.
And there's so many movies and television where you have to do the big grand gesture. Or you have to, you stand outside her house with a boombox. You stand outside a girl's house where she's not expecting it.
Just call the cops.
They call the cops.
Yeah. Or they record you and then they put you on TikTok and make fun of you.
Times have changed, and maybe this was like a common thing that was cool in the 80s or whatever. But doing this kind of stuff is weird.
Yeah.
And
it's one thing to go, hey, I left my inhaler in your bag and I put a tracker on it because I lose things so often. And it turns out you're at the restaurant right around the block from me. So I came to get it. Can I get it back? And then I promise I don't have any more trackers on you. But to fly to another country where you need a passport, that's next level creepy shit.
Taking a picture of a sleeping girl. I mean, I get it.
If she was passed out drunk and butt-ass naked and he was taking a picture of her, that's fucked up. Cuddling in bed and wanting to savor the moment where you don't see any nudity, I don't think that picture was that bad.
Okay.
It's not anything I'd brag or show people.
Right.
Maybe you would show her later on and, remember, this was from our first date and I really wanted to remember it. But putting it as your lock screen instantly, that's a little creepy. But I don't think
I don't know if it was his lock screen. I think they just opened the phone.
It was his wallpaper, whatever it is. It was on his phone the moment you opened it.
Sure. Yeah.
That picture I didn't think that was all that creepy.
Fair enough. But okay. I feel like I had more thoughts on the creepiness aspects of it. Oh, yeah, I think if Chris Evans was a teenager, this was a high school thing.
Okay.
You can sort of get away with these creepy because you don't know dating, but he's a full-grown man.
Yeah.
You should probably know. And the fact that his parents didn't call bullshit on this. Go across the country.
They were too
gung-ho about it.
His sister was like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, but his sister was such a fucking bitch about it.
I know. What, Steve? Whose side? You have both sides.
Well, no, it was just they were both too extreme.
Okay.
For me, his sister was just way too mean, and I understand.
But that's because she was the sister and has to.
And I know that it's like, oh, you rib your big brother, ha ha ha. Like, you do this thing all the time. But she just seems so vindictive about it, as opposed to just, kind of ribbing about it.
Maybe she was jealous. Maybe she wanted to date her brother.
Oh my God. I mean, my brother is Chris Evans. How can I not?
Creepiness, creepy stuff.
It doesn't matter. This movie was fine.
This is a good movie for like a first date. Like, let's go back to your house and just put something on, and you do it, and it's cutesy and it has a little action, but by the time you're 40 minutes in, you're already, making out with her and it just plays in the background.
Yeah, it doesn't change the game in any way. It's very straightforward. Like you said, it's probably just a paycheck movie. It's kind of a shame it went to streaming, but it also makes sense it went to streaming because it's not really that great.
Yeah, but it could have made 15 million.
But yeah, as a date movie, it's got some action for the dude, some romance for the girl, some comedy for both of you. It checks all the marks fine. I just wish it had a little something extra.
What do you need? Like halfway through, they could get handcuffed to each other, and now I was gonna send you on a plane and send you home, but now I'm stuck with you. Do you need something like that? You need a gimmick to it?
No, I think I just wish that if I was gonna change anything, it would make Chris Evans not needy. I think you could justify a reason for him to either travel across the to go from America to London, or he just be an American in London and meets this girl who happens to be a spy, and then he can still do the tracker thing of, I left my tracker, and then he goes to find her, but then he gets caught in this trap.
Sure.
You don't have to make him be this fucking weirdo, and then you lied to me about your job. That's the thing that puts some animosity to them, not like. You could have just made him a good dude who just got caught up in a bad situation. So you make him more likable, because I thought he was really annoying in this.
Especially if he was there and he's going around to different museums and galleries and asking for her, and they don't know who she is. And it's like, she said she worked in here. Nobody knows who this famous art dealer is. And then when he goes to track her, it's just crossing a border from France to Germany. It's little. It's not across the entire fucking ocean.
And then just make some of the. I think the writing needs be a little bit more interesting, just from their dynamic. Like the action's fine, the romance stuff is okay. It's just I wish the jokes were a little bit funnier, and I wish the romance was a little bit more believable. But because he was so dorky, and it's Chris Evans, I don't buy that. And she's such a smart, sophisticated woman. I don't buy that she would want this dude after being this way. Yeah. Even after everything they've been through. It would just be like, well, that was crazy, but clearly we're not right for each other. I wish you all the best. Goodbye. And then whatever. So it was fine. C.
And that's justifiable. I don't think I have anything else to say.
I don't either.
Let's wrap it up. All right, so next week, kind of a light week. We have Polite Society. I know you don't care.
Nope.
We have Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Nope.
Okay. Big George Foreman.
Nope.
And Sisu.
I'll see Sisu.
I want to see Sisu. And that was the fucking mystery movie Monday. I hate that I had to work Mondays. I'd go see every single one of these. But I guess next week would be Sisu. I'll probably see Polite Society if I don't have anything else going on. But I do not care about Big George Foreman. I do not care about Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
No one's going to see any of those movies.
What a weird week. Like, this week we had a bunch of heavy hitters, and then next week it's lighter fare. You like switch some of these around. I don't know which one you move, but
I think you move Beau Is Afraid.
No, because that's the indie weird thing. I would say maybe I was gonna say Chevalier, but no, that kind of works.
Oh, I thought you just meant of the Evil Dead and Beau Is Afraid.
No, I just meant just of all the releases.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, whatever. So probably Sisu. I don't know. Maybe we haven't done like a topic in a while. A top 10 list, a favorite, yada yada yada.
I mean, that's if we do the podcast next week.
Oh, that's right, because today we're 1 day past your due date. Yeah. So any moment, and I was betting money that it was going to happen during this podcast, and
with our luck, it usually would. But.
And hey, if I have to, I'll shut this thing and I'll walk out the door and I'll leave everything here. I'd probably have to unplug.
It's not. We wouldn't have to run straight to the hospisptal. That's not how babies work.
Ben, pack up your shit. And it's like, hold on, I'm wrapping up my cords. I gotta save this file real quick.
I gotta wrap up an umbilical cord. Let's go.
Yeah. So maybe next week is something. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe we have to take a break.
Maybe we'll take a break and get the people clamoring for more. You gotta tease them. When will they be back?
Their in-depth analysis just I thrive off of it every week.
Is Steve a secret spy? Is Ben a needy plant owner? Will they, won't they ever will? You know?
Will they ever? Won't they? What?
Because it's will they, won't they?
Oh.
Will they? You know, I was trying to... I think the wordplay works.
I'll leave it in, and we'll let people decide on that one. All right. If you want to get in contact with us, we are at WRPL Podcast at Gmail. We're on TikTok. I'm going to try to make some more TikToks. I don't know what to do. I have an idea, but it's so fucking lame, and I'll tell you off air. Okay. Or you could... Instagram, that's probably the best way to find us. We're getting a lot more followers on that than anything else. Like Twitter, it's fucking dead. No one responds to anything. Nobody follows us. It's garbage. It's a nice cataloging of episodes. That's nice. But Instagram, we're getting a lot of like other countries. A lot of foreign language. Their Instagram's about film, but it's all in a language I don't know. So I don't know if we just had a snappy picture one time and they went, oh, okay, it's funny. Because I think if you look at our Instagram and you look at all the pictures, it looks pretty funny. So yeah, I think we have more followers on that than we do on YouTube, which is sad. But hey, if they're all in non-English speaking countries, why would they listen to this? So, but anyhow,
maybe they're learning English from us.
Oh yeah, maybe that's good. The people who need a word a day calendar, learn English from them. The people who stumble over their words and say and like and all the time.
I know what you mean. That's like so lame of you, bro. What were we talking about?
We're wrapping it up. So thanks for listening. Next week we'll see. As always, I'm Ben.
And I'm Steve.
And keep consuming.
Watch Push, starring Chris Evans.
So yeah.